What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 8 of Chapter 201 Approaching advertisement. Dark clouds were looming over the city on Danto Island, thunder and lightning flashed in the sky, and it seemed like a downpour would start at any moment. It's been 2 days. Swain said worriedly. He silently calculated in his mind that the 5 elders would be here in half a day at most. How long will it take? Swain asked. Vegapunk ordered the other clones to do those things while answering Swain's question. 1 day at most. When Swain heard this time, he was a little confused and asked, "Why didn't you choose to back up before?" Judging from Vegapunk's capable personality, as a scientist, he should have the habit of backing up data at any time, right? Vegapunk said helplessly. I didn't expect that York turned out to be a traitor. Normally, world government agents would come to investigate once the backup was made. This reason for Swain's silence is understandable, but at the moment the two of them are as anxious as ants on a hot pot, and they look really embarrassed. Ding ding ding. The piercing siren can pierce a person's eardrums. Main body. A large number of marine warships have appeared 100 miles away. Currently, 2 generals have appeared. It seems that the world government has launched a buster call. Vegapunk was horrified, and what worried him the most was coming. He hoped in his heart that the 5 elders would trust the explanation he sent and give him some time to prepare before they could safely escape. It seems there is no chance. The sea beast weapons have long been wiped out by Swain. It can be said that there is no defensive force at all around the waters of Danto Island. We can only let the Marines land on the island and then take measures. But by that time, the situation changed from active to passive, and the already unstable situation seemed to add fuel to the fire. Swain stood up and said, I will stop them. You must transfer the information as soon as possible. Thank you, Vegapunk said seriously. The cooperation between Swain and him was like a thin rope tied between 2 beasts, which could be broken with a little force. Faced with the menacing buster call of the highest level, Swain's failure to escape speaks volumes. The cooperation between them has turned from string to steel. Vegapunk reminded again, you have to be more careful. Seraph can't help you until the 5 elders come out. As early as when Vegapunk was studying Seraph, the highest authority was actually himself. After being informed by 5 elders, Saint Satan strictly ordered 5 elders to change the name of Vegapunk to 5 elders as the highest authority. If Swain takes Seraph to intercept Marine, the pressure on him will certainly be relieved. Don't be afraid of anything, just be afraid of 10,000. If the 5 elders really come to an end, then this powerful fighting force will instantly turn into a torrent of resistance. Swain went alone. Vegapunk looked at his tall figure and now he felt majestic. I don't know which one makes people more willing to follow him or Joey Boy at the same time. Kizaru was eating noodles on the deck, with his legs crossed and looking quite enjoying himself. Akainu stood aside with a serious expression. Then he asked Kizaru for a match, but he didn't smoke and wouldn't carry this thing with him. My laser can light cigarettes, Kizaru said half-jokingly. Akainu flatly refused, rubbing a little lava with his hands and lighting up the cigarette. What do you think those guys were talking about in the boat? Advertisement. Oh, you can't talk nonsense, Kizaru said with a silencing gesture. HMPH, how cowardly, they can't know what we're talking about from so far away. Akainu looked at Kizaru's cautious look and felt that it was damaging to the majesty of the general and damaging to Marine's face. If he hadn't been a colleague for many years, he would have melted this usually lazy and fishy person with a big fire breath. Those are some old-timers, Kizaru spoke respectfully, but there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. I don't know if what he said in his heart is the same as what he said. Isn't Aokiji here? It seems that he had some self-awareness when he competed with me for the Marine Fleet Admiral some time ago. Akainu has a very good relationship with Kizaru in private, and they even sit together to drink tea and eat snacks when they have time. However, the relationship with Aokiji is not as close as Kizaru. Whether it is competing for the position of Marine Fleet Admiral or character work, the two are somewhat opposed. This may be a pair of natural enemies, or so Kizaru thinks. He listened to Akainu's speech in astonishment and said, Isn't he on the warship on our right? Then Kizaru put down the noodles in his hand and stood up to take a look. As expected, Aokiji was still lying there, soundly asleep. Akainu snorted and stopped asking. Marine drove calmly on the sea, and after about an hour, they had their first sight of the huge experimental layer on Egghead Island. But at this moment, something strange happened. We seem to be going retrograde, the observer on the warship suddenly said. Stop talking nonsense. How can it be that the wind direction is reversed when the direction is normal? Someone immediately retorted. If you don't believe me, come and take a look. The observer took a bamboo pole with a red cloth tied to it, and it was walking the opposite distance under the current. Really? Reported to the generals immediately? They reported this discovery to Kizaru and Akainu. The two looked at each other and seemed to know who did this. Swain. Only he can control the flow speed of seawater, but why is he here? A moment. Kizaru murmured, understanding why the order given to them by the 5 elders was just to arrest Vegapunk. At that time, he didn't understand why 3 generals were dispatched, and even the staffing was only slightly weaker than that of the top war. It turned out that Swain was also here, and everything he had doubted suddenly became clear. It seems that we must take down this brat this time, Akainu said, biting the handle of his cigarette fiercely. Kizaru touched his forehead helplessly. He didn't know how confident Akainu must be to dare to say such big words as to capture a monster like Swain. Why did he come here? Kizaru asked with some confusion. While he was thinking, a huge vortex appeared in front of several warships 100 meters ahead. The warship was engulfed in the blink of an eye. Help! The marine soldiers fell into the vortex and tried to grab the entity with their hands, but there was nothing real for them to grab. At this time, Allah, it's difficult to even get a good night's sleep. Aokiji stretched lazily. Then, under the gaze of everyone, he jumped off the ship and the sea immediately turned into ice. The vortex was also frozen into an inverted cone shape. Chapter 202 Obstacles Advertisement. Yes. General Aokiji took action, someone said excitedly. The most high-end combat power was gone, which meant that ordinary soldiers like them had no chance of this battle. Meaningless death is something no one wants to see. The soldiers cheered, as if the general was omnipotent and there was nothing that could not be solved. And while they were talking, hundreds of vortices appeared below the warship at the same time, like a devouring black hole. The roaring maw of the whirlpool is very attractive, and even though the warship increased its power, it still couldn't escape. Ice Age! Aokiji shouted. Bah! Bah! The sound of freezing ice came from near and far, but it was particularly reassuring. The marine soldier who escaped from death expressed his gratitude to Aokiji and said happily. Fortunately, General Aokiji is here this time, otherwise we would definitely be buried in the sea. Yes, this voice instantly resonated with many people. Akainu looked very unhappy when he saw this scene. Tisk. It's just a blind cat that encountered a dead mouse. Kizaru spread his hands and lamented that the contradiction between the two people has become increasingly difficult to reconcile since they competed for the position of fleet admiral. Akainu actually gets angry over such trivial things. But being frozen would cause trouble. It was still hundreds of miles away from Danto Island, and it was impossible to move forward at all. What an idiot! How can we drive when the sea surface is frozen? Akainu complained dissatisfied. The 5 elders also noticed the changes that took place here, so they ordered the generals to deal with it within 10 minutes. Meteor volcano. Akainu yelled. A magma spark appeared in midair and soon began to become active. Puffy. Then it began to explode, and small shells scattered around like raindrops. The small magma exploded immediately when it encountered the ice surface, and a terrifying high temperature gradually melted the ice surface. Slowly a normal navigation section was cleared. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Kizaru jumped up. The shimmering light emitted from the body was so piercing that people could not open their eyes. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The light spot hit the frozen ice in front, and the road was cleared within half a quarter of an hour. The few minor conflicts Swain created since then were not enough to block Marine's way. The close cooperation between the 3 generals made the Marines cheer and feel very excited. But, small troubles are easy to solve, but what about big troubles? Swain's speed was as fast as the wind, causing thousands of waves on the sea surface. Have you finally come out, you brat? Enemies are extremely jealous when they meet. Akainu strode straight into a confrontation with Swain, regardless of whether it was on the sea or not. Big fire, he roared. It's really noisy, Swain said lightly. The expression on his face was calm, as if he didn't take Akainu seriously at all, but he didn't need to take him seriously either. Strength is king. Swain raised his right hand, which was surrounded by dense domineering energy. With a slight movement of his mind, he walked out of the blue ring. He punched out lightly. Advertisement boom. Akainu's fire-breathing lava was directly scattered. The latter's body flew backwards like an arrow and hit the original warship heavily. Pung. Tisk tisk tisk. Akainu came out of the hole made by the warship. The lava flying from his body burned the iron plate. Within a moment, it turned into liquid and the warship exploded with another explosion. This scene was really shocking to the marine soldiers who had been beaten to death just now. At this time, they were also staring at the battle with their mouths open. The general they thought was close to being omnipotent was actually defeated by a pirate's light punch. There are many marine soldiers who participated in the war on the top, and their hearts are even more unbearable. Even Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, doesn't seem to be that powerful, right? However, when people face an enemy they know to be invincible, it will be difficult for them to survive without a strong will or belief. The laziness of fighting and the desire to escape began to spread among them, and they were defeated in one fell swoop. If Akainu died in this battle, then this war would be a unilateral massacre by Swain. Fortunately, the red-coated general whom the marine soldiers admired did not disappoint them. Hateful. A voice came from the burning warship. Everyone followed the sound and saw Akainu walking out of it in embarrassment. The cigar in his mouth was missing, and he didn't seem to be much hurt. The marine soldier cheered up again when he saw that his general was undefeated. Swain glanced at Akainu with a puzzled expression, secretly thinking that he was still a bit smart. His attack just now seemed light and airy, but actually there was conquerors entangled in it. But Akainu was probably pretending to be nonchalant for the sake of morale. Akainu was completely prepared to take him by surprise and seriously injure Swain. But his impression of Swain still remained as that kid on the Sabaody Islands. Little did he know that the boy who was beaten until he had to fight for his life to save his companions had grown up to be someone he looked up to. Times have changed. Akainu was still unwilling to admit Swain's power. Now, Swain doesn't need anyone to recognize him. His strength will naturally be proven by his true strength. Really? Swain chuckled. When Akainu looked up again, he was no longer in the air. When? So fast? Akainu said in surprise. He knew that Swain would definitely take action against him. Lava wall fire. Suddenly 3 streams of magma appeared to form a wall, surrounding Akainu. Swain said, "It's useless." He raised his arm and gathered strength backwards, and 4 blue circles of different sizes appeared outside the magma wall, like axes and collars. The conquerors on Swain's fist became thicker and thicker, almost indistinguishable from the weapon color. Akainu's eyes widened in horror, and his breathing seemed to become heavy. "Cerberus!" Akainu shouted. He was extremely serious at this time. There was no point in not acknowledging Swain anymore. No one could calm down after feeling the breath of death. Chapter 203. Battle between Generals and Emperors Advertisement. Cerberus! After Sakaski roared, terrifying high temperatures swept over, and space could not support this temperature, and white mist appeared on the sea. The marine soldiers who were closer didn't even scream, and were killed in the hands of their own generals in an instant. Aokiji frowned and felt that Akainu was treating the lives of his men as a child's play. He gently floated his fingers to form an ice wall to separate the sea-dwelling soldiers from the magma. Only then did these ordinary soldiers react and quickly ran out of their attack range. "Are you angry?" Swain looked at Akainu and said. "It's up to you to understand it, you will be melted into air after that," Akainu said coldly. "Humph. What a shameless statement." Swain pulled out the ghost sword from his waist, and a permeating domineering energy immediately surrounded it like ants possessing food. Immediately afterwards, Swain murmured something, and dozens of blue star array discs appeared around him, surrounding him in an arc shape and constantly rotating in it. He raised his sword, and a surge of Conqueror's domineering power immediately burst out behind him. Some marine soldiers couldn't bear the pressure and fainted. The Hades was formed by the terrifying heat, and its body was hundreds of meters tall. Akainu's sword into the air between its legs. It opened its huge mouth and sprayed out a stream of arrows. God-killing sword. Swain's eyes instantly turned red, domineering and murderous aura mixed together, combined with the incomparable sword power. Like a murderous god, it is intimidating. Go to hell, Akainu roared. The magma arrows can even make explosive sounds as they rub against the air. Although it is at dusk, they are still as bright as meteors at night. Swain's sword energy flew across the sea, dividing the sea. The power of a slight overflow was enough to break a solid warship in half. Soldiers who accidentally touched the sword energy either had their bodies explode on the spot or their heads were separated. The scene was quite bloody. "It's really scary," Kizaru said from the side. His expression was not as relaxed as before, but instead became uncharacteristically serious. He glanced to the right, where the warship was hanging the flag of the Celestial Dragons. Saint Satan and Saint Moshe were sitting on the boat at this time, watching the battle between them. Being lazy at this time is tantamount to asking for trouble. On the battlefield, although Akainu's Hades was powerful, it was slightly lacking in power and could not cause any harm to Swain at all. Swain's killing sword is an attempt to combine domineering and murderous intent. The stronger a person is, the harder it is to control the murderous intent in his heart. Just like Roger, he once slaughtered an entire city by himself, just like Shiryu just got out of prison and didn't kill a few jailers to vent his murderous aura, and the same goes for Akainu. And when he does missions, he kills useless marine soldiers. In fact, he is hiding or venting his murderous intention. As for powerful men like Kaido, Big Mom and Red Hair, Swain dared to say that the blood on their hands was more terrifying to him. In the world of pirates, the weak eat the strong, and the strong ones will not crawl out from the dead. Is that all you have? Swain sneered. Akainu was furious when he heard this. Although he understood that Swain was trying to anger him, he still did it. His attack was more fierce and powerful than before. Swain sensed something about his aura and saw the flaw at a glance. The figure flashed, leaving only an afterimage in place. He disappeared. Marine suddenly exclaimed. Kizaru saw that color was very powerful, and he immediately figured out what Swain was going to do, and his body immediately turned into elements and turned into flashing light particles. Fighting is never about head-to-head confrontation. Finding opportunities to kill with one strike is the real way to fight. After all, not everyone is a gentleman and is willing to fight you with the spirit of chivalry. Advertisement. Swain carried the ghost sword and rushed to Akainu's side, with a look of disdain on his face. You can only deal with the old man who is in poor health. The sound of swords sounded, and it seemed that Shinigami was killing. I'm so sorry, I can't let you hurt my colleagues like this. Flash kick. Kizaru moved to the top of Swain's head and kicked out hard. Upon seeing this, Swain quickly put away his attack and blocked his sword above himself. Whoosh! Swain's body flew into the sea at an extremely fast speed. Aokiji also moved at this time. He sealed the sea surface to prevent Swain from using his power, and then condensed several sharp ice picks. If they fell on them, his body would definitely be split in half. Seeing this, Swain quickly slapped his palm down, and there were sea blue bubbles on his palm. Boom! Like an earthquake, Swain directly shattered the icicles, and even the frozen ice surface was shattered into pieces. 8-foot beautiful Magatama, Kizaru shouted loudly. He also became serious and took action while Swain had no time to react. Swain sneered and said, such intensity can't kill me at all. He crossed his hands forward and pressed down, and a huge array immediately appeared, blocking all Kizaru's attacks. Swain used the force of the counter shock to regain his balance. But Kizaru did not give up the attack at all. he drew the Tianyan Kongjin from his right hand. With great speed, he immediately detoured behind Swain and pointed his sword at the vital point. Swain wrapped his domineering energy around his hand, and punched directly with his bare hands to collide with the Tianyan Kongjin. Clang clang clang. Swain's fist was extremely hard, and Kizaru's several fierce attacks could not cause any damage to him. Instead, Swain grabbed the blade of the sword. He said with a look of astonishment, "He's really as strong as a monster." Kizaru immediately dropped his sword and elementalized him. Seeing that he was about to escape, Swain quickly shouted, "Umabishi." A vortex like a seawater vortex appeared in midair. The vortex with the power of the ocean has an extremely strong gravitational pull. Kizaru felt the breath of the ocean inside, his face changed and he turned back in the blink of an eye. "It's too late," Swain said. Then he walked around behind Kizaru and quickly raised his arms. Elbow. The power was so great that Kizaru flew backwards with a groan. Ice pheasant. I saw an extremely huge and lifelike icebird hooting and then attacking Swain. Aokiji couldn't keep up with the two of them, and it was unrealistic to use the power of ice to control Swain. After all, he even surrounded every part of his body with domineering energy, making it impossible for him to start. Only by seizing the opportunity can one harm Swain. Swain quickly retreated, but the icebird was extremely fast. Offense is the best defense. He immediately adjusted his body's balance and said, "The moon in the mirror." He smashed several moon-shaped sea mirrors, which immediately had a huge impact, and confronted Aokiji's icebird. While the two were fighting, Akainu came over again with murderous intent. The sun bites the red sun. Chapter 204 Battle Advertisement. The sun bites the red sun. On Akainu's magma right arm, he held a huge flowing red magma sun. Swain had no time to resist, because Kizaru returned to his normal state and killed Swain. Below there is Aokiji pressing hard, trying to seize Swain's free period and control him. Damn it. Swain couldn't help but curse secretly. Aokiji is a controlling person. Even if he is not able to control him for a long time, he can greatly hinder him in a short time. In addition, Kizaru and Akainu's powerful essence S*X is really bad, and when we work together, we are really invincible. At least it made him feel in danger. Sure enough, it is quite troublesome for the three generals to work together. No wonder they can defeat the strongest man. Swain thought in his heart. But, he doesn't have much to worry about. After all, this is not all his strength. Poseidon Realm. Swain secretly thought in his heart. Jung. A heart-stopping breath came again, causing the three generals who were preparing to take action to hesitate. "This is..." Kizaru muttered. "Stop struggling pointlessly," Akainu yelled. The giant magma ball slowly moved towards Swain. At this time, it was too late for him to avoid it. Everyone also looked back at this scene. If Akainu can really kill Swain, then they will witness history. But in the dazzling firelight, only a slightly thin figure could be seen, slowly stretching out his hand under the huge sun. Realm Poseidon Trident. Field destroy the world. His two voices were extremely quiet, so small that only he himself could hear them clearly. Then his hair turned blue, his eyes glowed golden, and the light blue light on his body was like mist. He immediately became awakened, and Swain was about to get serious. Awakening plus domain. This is a gift prepared for the five elders, but today it must be activated under the cooperation of three generals. The trident was held in his hand and swept across the air. The huge sun was cut open like a ball being split. Then, boom, tisk tisk tisk. The giant sun was divided into two parts and fell on the ice as hard as iron, melting instantly. "You guys have completely angered me," Swain said quietly. His voice is like Shinigami from the Nine Hells, cold and terrifying. Some marines with relatively weak psychological quality were frightened and fainted to death. "He's gotten stronger," Aokiji said seriously. At this time, the three generals stood together again, looking at Swain's powerful aura. Although there are some petty fights at ordinary times, Marine is still like a rope when it comes to big things. His state is the same as the reward order. He should be entering the awakening state. Kizaru added, but his awakening is really terrifying. This time his tone was no longer frivolous, but more serious than ever. Akainu said with a gloomy face, "No matter how strong you are, justice will always belong to Marine. I'm afraid the strength of the three of us is no longer enough to deal with him. We need the support of those two to do it," Kizaru suggested. He already had the intention to quit at this time, and the monthly salary was not enough for him to work hard for his life. "Need more money, advertisement, then inform those two," Akainu agreed. Kizaru was a little stunned. He didn't expect Akainu to just give him a step and walk down. Then he shouted, "All Marines, obey." After hearing the voice of General Kizaru, many soldiers were serious and prepared to sacrifice their lives. Everyone stay 10 miles away from warship number 1. 10 miles? Why? What does this mean? Does the general think we are a burden and want to drive us away? I think that's the reason. I didn't see the three generals fighting with the four emperors. That means the fight between gods has nothing to do with us. Yes, we will die if we go up there. There are many sober people in Marine, and there are also brave and fearless people. Both factions represent two consciousnesses, namely Aokiji and Akainu. Kizaru doesn't have any faction, but his words are still very effective. The marine soldiers immediately receded like the tide after hearing Kizaru's order. However, they never imagined that their meaningless retirement would be for the appearance of a big shot. I was originally dedicated to the marine cause with passion, but I didn't expect that it would be almost like a retreat and advancement in tourism. If they knew the reason for their retreat, they would probably be even more frustrated. Swain also watched these marines leave in a hurry. He didn't want to kill these people who couldn't make any changes to the situation. It's better to save this energy and think about how to get rid of one of these three people. After all, these people are the world government, and should not be IM's lackeys. Although they have different ideals and beliefs, no matter how great and touching they are. If you take the wrong path, no matter what the result is, it will be wrong. Following IM is the wrong path. In the case of Kizaru, Swain feels that he has always been a very complicated person. I used to think that he was an undercover agent, a hidden stake arranged by the Revolutionary Army Dragon at the top of Marine. But the further he got to the back, the more impossible he felt, because the Revolutionary Army was too weak. Although it has achieved considerable strength since its development, it is nothing compared to IM's ability to destroy countries at will. When Vegapunk was studying the pacifists, the lasers they fired were based on the abilities of the Yellow Apes. So since he has been in contact with it, and with his status as a general, he must have learned some of the real truth about this world. Including Sengoku, Garp, Aokiji, Akainu. So why do they still defend and help the evildoers? To defend the celestial dragons, is this really justice? All Swain could think of was that they were unwilling to face these facts. Not willing to start over again and break away from the rule of world government. If they pretend for a long time, they will inevitably believe that what they do is correct. Another point is rights. General Marine, Lieutenant General. A series of official positions and statuses are given to them by the world government. Power is the most addictive poison. It is not illegal for Tianlong people to kill people in the street. If someone fights back, generals will be dispatched to rescue them or even kill the resistors. So, how is Marine's law for arresting criminals fair and just? In other words, they are just the minions of the celestial dragons. This is also what Swain admires about Long. After he discovered that Marine was also a murderer, he decisively gave up this great future and became the most vicious criminal in the world that everyone wanted to beat. What a miserable bunch of people. Chapter 205. One person is enough. Advertisement. I'm busy on Friday, so I'll post it first. You don't need to read it today. You can read it tomorrow. Tomorrow I will update one chapter with 4,000 words, and 2 chapters with 2,000 words, for a total of 3 chapters. Kizaru uses a tiny communicator to talk to the 5 elders. It seems we still need your help. There was no response from the other end of the phone. Kizaru asked again with some embarrassment. The other party is a pirate more powerful than Whitebeard. In the fight with Swain, Kizaru could feel more pressure than Whitebeard. Saint Satan saw Swain's fight with the 3 generals through the image bug. He could not say that he had a clear understanding of this boy's strength, but he could say that he had experienced it personally. He was knocked down with one punch. Although it was due to his carelessness, it also illustrates Swain's strength. To defeat 3 generals, he and Mo Sheng could only do it together. What a headache, this kid comes every time, Mo Sheng said angrily, raising his sword. The delicately groomed goatees on both sides were glowing with anger. The last person who caused us such trouble was the man named Joey Boy. He is called the sun god by the world, and now there is another Poseidon, Saint Satan said slowly. Both of them felt helpless from each other's mouth, and the world was getting more and more out of their control. We need to end, Mo Sheng said seriously. Saint Satan stopped him and said, no. I'm afraid Swain has an ambush, so let's wait and see. Then, he responded to Kizaru, we can't take action for the time being. That sounds really sad, Kizaru complained. As a result, Saint Satan hung up the phone directly, not wanting to hear his complaints at all. On the ice, Swain was confronting the 3 generals. When he saw Kizaru's disappointed expression, he knew that the 5 elders would not choose to take action. He mocked. Are the 3 prestigious marine generals so weak that they need to seek help from foreign aid? Akainu heard this and sneered coldly, you brat, don't be too proud. We are just. Before he finished speaking, Swain's figure had already left the place and came to him in an instant. So fast, the 3 of them were surprised at the same time. Swain held a trident that glowed golden in the sun, raised it above his head and struck at Akainu. Akainu obviously didn't expect him to act so decisively. Fortunately, his knowledge of knowledge did not fall behind in practice, and he could predict Swain's actions in times of crisis. Laugh. A huge golden light slash, split, Akainu, and then turned into a field of lava. Swain looked at Akainu's avoidance with cold eyes, and said solemnly, I passed the test on seeing, hearing and S**X. He is not as powerful and domineering as the red hair, and can even invalidate the opponent's predictions about himself. It was precisely because of the lack of such cheating domineering that Akainu narrowly escaped this attack. Aokiji and Kizaru were also almost affected by Swain's attack, and they immediately turned into elements to avoid it. But Swain ignored the 2 of them and only chased Akainu to attack. A-hole. Akainu cursed. He found himself being targeted by Swain. Big fire. He couldn't even see Swain's figure, and wanted to distance himself before thinking of a solution. However, Swain did not give him this chance at all. Immediately, there was a star array of light that was even grander than before, blocking the deadly magma. Swain raised his arms, his fists glowing with lightning and strong domineering energy. Boom! A hard punch. Akainu's figure suddenly broke through the ice and retreated backwards, and Swain's figure flashed again. Akainu appears again, and another punch comes from behind. Boom! Akainu suddenly felt a sweetness in his throat, and blood spurted out of his mouth. He was beaten and had no power to fight back. Seeing this, Kizaru had to help, and his whole body turned into light particles and appeared in midair. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. This time, the light of Chang Magatama is even more dazzling, like a dazzling sun standing in the sky. The attack range has become wider. Kizaru deliberately used his knowledge to avoid Akainu's position. Swain said happily in his heart, this time it is no longer an 8-foot jade? Kizaru has completely different attitudes towards Wang Lufei and others. It can be felt that Kizaru's 2 attacks are very accurate, and even a little carelessness may cause harm. Puffy. The ice surface was once again broken into pieces by light spots, and a large amount of seawater gushes out from it. It really saved me a lot of energy, Swain said. He pointed his palm at the water, and with a whoosh, a 100-meter-high water column came out, followed by the ground shaking on the ice. Bah! Bah! The sound of glass breaking made people feel nervous. Aokiji's expression changed. He didn't expect Swain to be able to mobilize the ice and seawater hundreds of meters below. And it looks like this battle is quite big, blah blah blah. 1 place, 2 places, 3 places. More and more places the water comes out. Swain stood in midair and the water columns behind him advanced layer by layer and then exploded like fireworks. I am the real king in this sea, Swain said with cold eyes. Within a wave of your hand, there are huge waves hundreds of meters high. The ice surface was completely resolved and the sea returned to its sparkling water. The huge wave was like a monster, spreading its teeth and claws to devour Swain's enemies. It just so happens that the 3 of them are all devil fruit users, so if they try hard to carry on, they are simply asking for death. It's fake. Is it true that natural disasters can be controlled by humans? Kizaru immediately shouted, please, Aokiji. The only one who can cope with this situation is Aokiji. Frozen fruits are not vegetarian. Instead, Aokiji said solemnly, I know, I will try my best to do it. Although he has the ability to freeze fruits, he cannot freeze all seawater. There is an upper limit, just like Swain's ocean fruit, which does not mean the ability to control the sea and overturn it. Swain's huge waves covered the sky and the sun, and everywhere they looked was seawater, and the sun in the sky could only shine a dim light through the thick seawater. Aokiji's mood is similar to this light, gloomy and confused. He was not sure that he could control and freeze the waves summoned by Swain. The Great Ice Age, he roared. The richness and vicissitudes of his voice seemed to drain away his life after this move. Miso miso miso. The sea surface began to turn into ice, and Swain's huge waves were frozen to a degree visible to the naked eye almost in the blink of an eye. This is what General Marine is capable of, the Great Ice Age. This is Aokiji's strongest control ability. Even if the person controls the ability, it will take a while to release him. Advertisement not to mention some lifeless seawater. What a terrible man. Aokiji breathed out, then squatted down to relieve his weak state. Kizaru took Akainu and flew elsewhere. Just when they thought they were about to be destroyed by the seawater and become landlubbers, Aokiji's freezing saved them from this disaster. How thrilling, Kizaru said in shock. This was the first time his life had been threatened, and it was also the first time since he became a general. Even the last time a red-haired deputy pointed a gun at his head, he never felt this way. Because falling into the sea would be worse than being eaten directly by Poseidons. Who knows if Swain has any abnormal psychology? It seems we are getting old, he said to Akainu. If they were more than 10 years younger, the 2 of them might not be in such a mess as they are today. It doesn't matter, I will kill everything at the critical moment, Akainu said stubbornly. Kizaru couldn't help but shake his head when he saw that he was going to fight Swain again. Then anyone can go up, and just as they approached, he felt something was wrong in Swain's eyes. You were so unruly just now, why are you so funny now? His body trembled, and an uneasy breath spread from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Hide quickly. He immediately turned into tiny particles of light and retreated. Akainu was left alone to fight towards Swain with his magma fist. Swain looked at Akainu with cold eyes, and his face seemed to disgust him more and more. You are really looking for death. Click click click. The ice layer hundreds of meters high suddenly broke step by step. Akainu instantly sensed something was wrong, and quickly stopped and looked at the ice with a look of horror in his eyes. How could that be? Aokiji also exclaimed. He knew his abilities best, and he used all his strength to stop the invasion of this wave. It shouldn't be. Suddenly, he had an idea. Could it be that he had taken on the color of arms in these waves? Hiss. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but take a breath. How powerful does it take to do this? According to his experience over the past few decades, apart from the former One Piece ship group, Bullet can possess such armed and domineering power. But it's not enough to have such a terrifying amount. Aokiji's freezing power is indeed terrifying, but it is for inanimate objects and weak people who can't use Haki. When used by different powerful people, domineering energy can reap different benefits. If it were Roger, his weapon would be difficult for ordinary people to break through. At the very least, only those with the strength of a general could have this strength. If it were a beginner who had just learned armament Haki, a gun would be able to cause damage to him. Therefore, Swain's weapon is so powerful that it can only freeze the surface after arming the seawater. The turbulent seawater inside is simply difficult to control. He immediately understood that Swain had done this deliberately, just to catch the three of them off guard. Poseidon 4 symbols. Swain roared angrily. I saw the seawater at the level of a natural disaster split into 4 parts and began to evolve. Green dragon, white tiger, Suzaku, Xuanwu. They are formed by condensation of seawater, and the dragon horns of the blue dragon, the claws of the white tiger, the bird feathers of the red bird, and the turtle shell of the basalt are covered with armed colors. Good steel should be used on the blade. Swain gives these 4 elephant beasts the domineering bonus they deserve, making them even more powerful. Akainu shook his head. He didn't believe that he would be afraid of a pirate. Then he roared equally angrily and said, but so what, justice will always belong to me. Dark hound. Tisk tisk tisk. Puff, puff, puff. The magma on his arms stretched like rubber, each section getting stronger and stronger. It was nearly 100 meters wide and looked like a magma waterfall. The magma hyena moves with the wind, growing when it sees the wind. There is endless magma on its back as a supplement, and it quickly climbs up, ready to tear Swain apart. Xuanwu. Swain shouted. Then I saw the lifelike Xuanwu blocking the hyena with the big turtle shell on its back. Hey hey. The sound was like fire burning vegetation. After a while, the turtle shell on Xuanwu's body was no longer enough to support him, and Swain was shocked. The general who fights to the death should not be underestimated. He could see that Akainu was no longer in a state of anger, but was actually fighting to the death. He admired Akainu for having such a consciousness for a moment. Although Swain hated him, he dared to quarrel with the 5 elders after he became fleet admiral and dared to die to defend the justice in his heart. Swain can give him a happy death. The dragon raises its head. His gestures changed rapidly, directing the green dragon to raise its head and swing it. When Aokiji and Kizaru saw this, they immediately dodged into the air and prepared to stop him. It's not your turn to take action here. Swain's voice sounded like it came from the sky, causing eardrums to tremble and hurt. Suzaku and White Tiger immediately turned into swift killers and pounced on them menacingly. Kizaru's body immediately separated into dozens, while holding the Tiankong Yun sword. The White Tiger immediately stretched out its sharp claws and killed a yellow ape. But there were still 9 Kizaru left, surrounding him and attacking in a wheel battle. Suddenly, one of them turned into a beam of light and left quickly. He went to rescue Akainu, however, how could he hide from Swain's eyes? Multitasking is his normal behavior. Get away, Swain roared. The seawater condensed into a clone dozens of meters away from him, blocking Kizaru's path. This is really troublesome. If this continues, my good colleague will be killed by you, Kizaru said with a solemn expression. Seeing that the remaining 2 generals were unable to free their hands, Swain looked into the void and a trident appeared in his hand. The figure flew by like a swift wind, and appeared above Akainu's head in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! He held the trident in his hand and swept out with a sound that cut through the air. Akainu could no longer resist Swain's appearance. He could only use the fastest speed in his life to turn over and avoid the blow. Tick tick tick. It was the sound of blood dripping on the ice, and one of Akainu's right ears was cut off. He gritted his teeth and refused to let out a cry of pain. Swain looked seriously, and Akainu also looked at Swain, feeling that the other party was looking down at him. Realizing that he had been underestimated, his competitive spirit suddenly grew again. Ah! Akainu almost turns into a magma monster. Swain turned the trident in his hand, and then the king pointed his finger. The top conqueror's domineering energy exploded instantly, and his body waist was like a bowstring and he shot the trident towards Akainu who was fighting Xuanwu. Now you can sacrifice with peace of mind. Swain did not use the word death to describe Akainu, but the word sacrifice, which is enough to show his recognition of Akainu's concept. But the ways are different and they don't work together. Chapter 206 The Death of Akainu. Advertisement. As a reminder, the previous chapter has been revised, so book lovers can read it again. Dividing line. Now you can sacrifice with peace of mind. Swain did not use the word death to describe Akainu, but the word sacrifice, which is enough to show his recognition of Akainu's concept. But the ways are different and they don't work together. Akainu wanted to kill Swain every time. The first time, if not for Rayleigh's timely arrival and his good luck, he was able to escape. Now Swain has enough strength to face Akainu again. No, he can handle it with ease even if the 3 generals work together to fight him. But the concept he has always believed in is also the unwritten rule of this world. Kindness to the enemy is cruelty to oneself. Kill. This idea has been lingering in his mind. Kizaru's legs burst out with intense light, and the surrounding air suddenly became restless. This was an increase in temperature. Flash kick. He knocked back the huge white tiger. His pupils were trembling, and he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. This is fake. Swain's long trident was seen piercing Akainu's abdomen directly. The trident pinned him to it, and the magma on Akainu's body completely disappeared and turned into flesh. How? How is this possible? Akainu said with a trembling voice. He vomited blood from his mouth, but in order to let others see his embarrassed appearance, he quickly blocked his mouth with his hands. The blood from his mouth flowed down his arm. Tick-tock. This is the first time Akainu has faced death so close. He is not afraid, but feels a little strange. This strangeness comes from his own strength. Why? He kept shouting in his heart that Swain's strength was far higher than his. Is this still the kid he looked down upon? He didn't understand why he was so obsessed with Swain. Whitebeard held him down and beat him during the war, but he didn't feel any psychological pressure afterward. There was always a voice in his mind that if Swain was killed, the world would be peaceful and there would be no more pirates. Because, after Swain attacked the Holy Land, the balance of the world was completely disrupted. More and more civilians gave up their identity as Marines and joined the pirate lineup. Probably about to die, he suddenly remembered something at that time. When he was at the recruitment site, when people heard that General Marine was coming, many people gathered around to watch. He was supported on the high platform amidst the roar of the crowd and said a few words, when he said that joining Marine could protect them and achieve justice. Someone in the audience asked, "Can Marine rescue my wife from that celestial dragon? She must have been humiliated over there." Akainu thought he was here to cause trouble, so he walked up to him. When others saw Akainu with such power, they all moved out of the way. "What did you say?" The man thought that Akainu was really here to help him, so he cried bitterly and begged. "Please. Go to the celestial dragons to save me. I heard others say that they are the most powerful people in the world. Nobles, no one can punish them. I was already discouraged until someone told me there was a big pirate named Swain, and only he could save your wife." "Swain? This is a rumor. Pirates will only harm you, none of them are good people." "Really? Then I believe you. Can you help me rescue my wife from the celestial dragons?" the man asked again. As a marine general, Akainu certainly knew that the celestial dragons had a higher status than them. Moreover, he unconditionally obeys the orders of the celestial dragons. But he was honest and shook his head. He wanted to give an explanation, but his mouth moved but he didn't say anything. He has been a general for some years, and he knows all about the evil deeds and faces of the Tianlong people. Is it possible to explain to this man that the celestial dragons did the right thing? This goes against his justice. Yeah, the man felt lost, as if his last life-saving straw had been broken. Advertisement. He suddenly took out a pistol and raised it in front of Akainu. Upon seeing this, Marine quickly evacuated the crowd and pointed his gun at the man. The man glanced around at the Marine who pointed the gun at him, and finally looked at Akainu with some disappointment. Then he said his last words before leaving. "It turns out there is no fairness and justice in this world. Marine, pirate, who is justice?" Boom. The man committed suicide in front of him. Blood splashed onto Akainu's face, shaking him a bit. The last words of the suicidal man kept echoing in my mind. It turns out there is no fairness and justice in this world. Marine, pirate, who is justice? He stood there blankly, the belief in his heart somewhat shaken. It turns out that ordinary civilians think Marine is no longer righteous? So what kind of justice do you insist on, General Akainu? General Akainu, the deputy called him from the side. "You are not injured, are you?" Akainu shook his head and said, "No, how could a rogue person hurt me?" "That's good. I think this unruly man is played by a criminal. When I see you committing suicide out of fear of crime, ha 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 ha." The deputy laughed at the side. Akainu felt a little harsh when he heard his laughter. He killed countless pirates and lived for decades. You can still see it in a person's eyes when he is desperate. Then he yelled angrily, "As a Marine, you should pay attention to your image." The deputy immediately said seriously, "Yes." Then Akainu asked with some sadness, "Let me ask you. Are we doing everything right?" The deputy barely thought and blurted out subconsciously, "Of course it is justice. General Akainu is the Marine with the most sense of justice I have ever seen." Akainu looked back at his flattering expression, smiled self-deprecatingly and said, "I hope so." Since that incident, Akainu has paralyzed himself and brainwashed himself every day to suggest that Swain had fooled the civilians, just like Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. However, the blood of the man who committed suicide was not only sprayed on his face, but also dripped in his heart. Lingering. Simply numb yourself and kill pirates like a lunatic after completing all tasks every day. Just to stabilize the justice in your heart, but it's all over. He looked back on his past and found that since he became a Marine, there seemed to be more pirates. I keep killing pirates, but why are there so many, or even endless, pirates? He suddenly thought about where these new blood pirates came from. The image of the man crying and crying appeared in his mind again. He got it. It turns out that he was not killing pirates, but these desperate civilians who were forced to a dead end by the celestial dragons. He is the one he wants to protect, but he killed them with his own hands. His hands were stained with dirty blood. At the same time, Swain came to him and pulled the trident out of his body. Swain said in a calm voice, "I admit you are a hero. If there were no pirates and Marines in this world, maybe I could be friends with you." Akainu's vitality was rapidly draining, and he whispered in a low voice, "I think so too." The words of a dying person are also good. He was relieved and no longer hated Swain for just deceiving himself. Akainu raised his head weakly and asked, "If it were possible, what kind of world would you build?" Swain's pace of leaving suddenly stopped. He was stunned for a moment, and responded sideways. I hope to build a world without nobles and where everyone is equal. Chapter 207, Come to Help, Advertisement. Akainu lowered his head and stopped talking. The battle between Swain and Akainu is over. On Kizaru's side, he completely got rid of the white tiger in front of him, and when he came to the midair, he saw Akainu kneeling in a pool of blood, covered in blood, with an unprecedented solemn look in his eyes. He made moves with both hands and said angrily, 8-foot Changhua arrow. Huh. Huh. Thousands of light arrows were ready to be fired, densely packed in the sky, all aimed at Swain. Go. Swish, swish, swish. After Swain felt the danger behind him, he immediately turned around and reacted. Poseidon's arrow. After he made a gesture to draw the bow, a blue bow and arrow appeared in his hand, with a faint halo on it. Whoosh. A blue arrow shot out, followed by 10, hundreds, or thousands of arrows scattered. Bang bang bang. Kizaru felt extremely troublesome, and these attacks hardly caused any harm to Swain. He couldn't help but see the ship in the distance, and thought to himself, why don't these two old guys take action? Two people from the 5 elders came this time, Saint Satan and Saint Moshe. They have a ray star array that can teleport, so sending one person can teleport 5 people there. But uniting together will ultimately focus on Swain. Sakaski is not dead yet, Masheng said. He is most sensitive to death and can sense that Akainu is still alive. We should take action. Saint Satan stood up and said. Akainu's defeat was a bit sudden for him. At least in their impression, he was not such an impulsive man at all. He can only blame himself for being weak. He must save people, otherwise those old guys from Marine will definitely chatter endlessly. They may even threaten them with resignation, especially warring states and Garp. SSSSSSSSS, not far from Swain, 2 star formations suddenly appeared. Saint Satan and Saint Moshe slowly came out of it. You two old guys are here again? Swain sneered without hesitation after feeling the breath of the 5 elders. Little Guido, let's see how long you can continue to be arrogant. Moshe Sheng took the lead and transformed into a huge strange bird. I have no conflict with you. As long as you come with me to capture Swain, I can give you the identity of a celestial dragon. How about that? Advertisement in a short period of time, it is simply difficult to kill. Coupled with its strong recovery ability, it is very difficult to deal with. Hip ha 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 ha, Moshe Sheng sneered, raised the ghost first generation in his hand and struck out a sword light. It's you again, Beloric Redfield. As soon as Swain finished speaking, a mountain really appeared. The mountain was carried by the monstrous flood, like a cannonball loaded into a barrel. He can use Poisonous Whip to attack, which is as poisonous as Magellan at full power and can corrode even trees. Poseidon Realm. Swain shouted calmly. Thunder and lightning mixed with domineering energy burst out from Swain towards Moshe Saint. Harsh. Swain framed a large area in the domain, and fog began to gather in the air over this area. I saw the same flying beast, flapping its wings in the air. The huge body in the center seems ordinary, but Satan's legs can be extended and can fire an effect similar to a rubber machine gun. Poseidon Mountains and flowing waters. There was a huge mountain faintly visible in the center of the fog, and the sound of running water could also be heard. But he has a snake-like appearance and a strong body. He is the only artist among the 5 elders who has the ability to fly, and is specialized in aerial combat. Smash it for me. The prototype of Satan Saint in 5 elders is Gyuki, who is good at using venom to attack. To be honest, Swain has rarely played against him, so he has no idea what his abilities are. Matsu Sainori is Izu Shinton, one of the monsters in the Japanese legend of 100 demons walking at night. Swain's eardrums were shaking a little, but this sound was something he was very familiar with. When Moshe said this name, Kizaru and Aokiji were really shocked. It is said that strange birds appear in times of war or famine, which cause a large number of dead people. They are named because they can make a special cry. His body also turned into a half-human, half-animal state. Before Swain could refute him, another voice echoed between heaven and earth. Tisk tisk tisk. Moshe Sheng felt the aura of a king and looked back to the horizon. Red Earl's support is coming. I admit that you are strong, 4 Emperors Swain. This farce should end. Boom. So it flew towards the thinking cause at an extremely fast speed. They had heard of this name when they were still soldiers, and when they became lieutenant generals, their reputation was even more prominent, even higher than that of Baizuzi. Moshe Sheng was shocked. He suddenly felt that his body's speed had slowed down, as if he was running fast in the water. We really meet again, old friend. Red Earl said with a smile on his face. Chapter 208 Fight. Advertisement, we really meet again, old friend. Red Earl said with a smile on his face. The arrogance and evil intent in his smile made people feel uncomfortable. As soon as Saint Satan saw the Red Earl, his expression immediately changed. It's gloomy enough to drip water. Aokiji and Kizaru didn't participate in the plan to attack Beehive Island last time, so they naturally didn't know about the Red Earl. In fact, even if they go there, they may not be able to see each other. The battlefield is divided into 3 places, and the Red Earl directly faces St. Peter. And the reason why he called Saint Satan and Saint Moshe his old friends was because it seemed that he had met the 5 elders during Roger's time. Saint Satan snorted and said, "You are such an annoying guy. The Red Earl is really too powerful, almost as powerful as the 4 emperors, plus there are 2 Swain here, what is this?" So, he said, I have no conflict with you. As long as you come with me to capture Swain, I can give you the identity of a celestial dragon. How about that? The Red Earl had a sneer on his lips, not hiding his arrogance at all. Don't we have any conflict? Hee ha 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 ha. You are such noble people and forgetful of things. And your identity as a Tianlong is just a piece of shit in front of me. Mo Sheng looked at him coldly, the anger in his eyes seemed to burn to his eyebrows. Also, he didn't understand when he had a conflict with the Red Earl, and there was no conflict of interest at all. Yes. After the Red Count became famous and powerful all over the world, there was indeed no conflict of interest. Instead, the Red Count had been targeting the Tianlong people. But when the Red Earl was young, they did something that made him resent his whole life. The person the Red Count hated most in his life was the Celestial Dragon. In the past, he had a withdrawn personality and had no companions, so even if he wanted to kill the fat-headed and big-eared Celestial Dragons, he would always be surrounded and killed by some high-end combat forces. Otherwise, with his strength, how could he be caught and imprisoned in Shangcheng prison alone? It's different now. He compromised with reality. No, it should be said that he compromised with his own character. Now, he joins the Four Emperors Swain camp, and he can do everything he does without thinking about it. The same is true even when hunting Celestial Dragons. He even lives more freely. This is what is called a companion, right? Thinking about this, he unconsciously said, the world is becoming interesting. Are the five elders beginning to end? It seems that the Tianlong people have no fighting power. At this time, Saint Moshe suddenly took action and suddenly appeared beside the Red Earl. His body had transformed into a beast as he moved. You talk too much, today I'm going to stab you. You. After the sound of sprinting, he arrived at the Red Earl's neck. The Red Earl stood there quietly, not even dodging. Boom. There was no one in the place, and everyone looked around to see a crack on the ice. It seems like people are getting old, Aokiji sighed. When they were still lieutenant generals, the Red Earl almost dominated the sea. His most powerful achievement was that he once defeated Whitebeard and was invincible. How terrifying is a Whitebeard in his prime? Even a man like Roger who dominated an era would have to avoid him when meeting him. Although it was rumored at the time that he single-handedly challenged the entire Whitebeard pirates, at that time Marco, Wajan and others simply did not have the strength they have today. So there is no problem in taking on the Whitebeard pirates alone. I don't think so, Kizaru said. Kizaru was watching Saint Satan suddenly come to Akainu, and he quickly went to help. Then black mist suddenly appeared in his palm. Is this? He asked doubtfully. Kizaru was surprised to find that Kizaru's body was constantly recovering. The black mist jumped into the body again, suturing the wound like a parading string. It returned to its original state in a moment, leaving only black scars. He has saved his life now. He has been sent back to give him some blood transfusion and he has recovered. Kizaru said gratefully, thank you so much, old man. Saint Sardan rescued Akainu. Naturally, he had his own thoughts, because he could see that Akainu's resentment towards Swain had reached an undying level. This is a huge help to their interests. Having top-level combat power is more useful than anything else. And, this time it was Saint Satan who saved him. This favor will always have to be repaid in the future. His regeneration ability can restore people who are not dead. As long as the injury is not fatal, he is completely powerless in places like the heart and head. I once told him that this kind of ability can only be used to save the celestial dragons, and low-level people in the lower world are not worthy of possessing it. Kizaru carried Akainu on his back and left the battlefield. Swain watched Kizaru leave and did not stop him. He noticed the scene of Saint Satan healing Akainu, and that kind of ability frightened him. Regeneration. Immortal. This ability made him covet. On the other side, the Red Earl slowly stood up from the ice, his mouth twitching from laughter to tears. Advertisement. His body exudes a scarlet color, and Conqueror's domineering energy overflows from him. It's really not enough, Saint Moshe, the Red Earl suddenly shouted. His eyes became red, and when he spoke, his two fangs were exposed in a very penetrating way, and his aura was frightening. Moshe Sheng clicked his tongue disdainfully. What a tough talk. After saying that, he drew out his sword and struck at the Red Earl again with a powerful momentum. The Red Earl was prepared in advance this time, and his speed, defense and strength were qualitatively improved in his half-beast state. The sharp claws in his palm were like divine weapons, intertwined with Saint Maza's sword. Bang bang bang. After 3 rounds, the two simply tested the red count and defeated Moshe Saint. The vibrations coming from Saint Moshe made his arms numb. He couldn't help but feel shocked. He had never heard of the Red Earl's strength before. Even after the last attack on Beehive Island, Peter Saint mentioned, the Red Earl is very powerful. He thinks that no matter how strong the Red Earl is, it doesn't matter. After decades without immortality, his strength will definitely reach a low point, so he doesn't care at all. At that time, I thought he was very powerful compared to other pirates, but I didn't expect that he was very powerful compared to Peter Saint. What a careless thing, he thought silently in his heart. The attack was a sneak attack, and even the first striker failed to cause any damage to him. Saint Maz's eyes showed a solemn look, and he glanced at Saint Satan. The two looked at each other and communicated through their hearts. This is their unique way of communication. And this is also the reason why Saint Satan was able to escape from Beehive Island last time. It is equivalent to having a location phone and you can find it anywhere. It's just that they secretly rescued Saint Queen Satan without alerting Swain. At that time, Swain had just gone out to assist 9 Snake Island. Coincidentally, they thought Swain was on Beehive Island, so they did not dare to start a war rashly again. When the news came, the 5 elders regretted not attacking, but fortunately they knew the location of Beehive Island. After Swain was attacked, he moved the 3 countries to other places. That day happened to be Blair's duty at the military camp. After discovering that Saint Satan was missing, Swain left again. Luo made a prompt decision and asked Blair to use the power of the Piao Piao fruit to transfer Beehive Island, Wano Country, and Golden City away. Swain doesn't know about this yet, because the amount of information Danto Island brought to him is too large, and he hasn't digested it yet. 5 elders came here again with 3 generals. At that time, Saint Satan's appearance did not surprise him, because he knew that Saint Satan would escape sooner or later. But I didn't expect it to be so fast. We have little chance of winning, Mo Sheng said calmly. The 2 of us can't deal with Swain alone, and with the addition of the powerful Red Earl, our chances of winning together are even smaller. Saint Kaido of Satan said, let the other 3 come over. Mo Sheng nodded secretly, but the transmission took time. Once interrupted, the other 3 people would not be teleported at all. He was thinking secretly, but Swain would not give him this time to think. There was a circle in the air, and then countless wind blades kept colliding with Swain's arrows. Tisk. How disgusting, you just use arrows to deal with me. Swain was worried that these 2 old guys might call for foreign aid, and quickly said loudly to the Red Earl. As long as they want to launch the star formation, they will be stopped immediately. The wings behind him suddenly unfolded, no longer attached to his body as armor. The Red Earl was extremely powerful, and wherever his sharp claws passed, they left quite a few scars on Saint Satan's huge spider body. This arrow not only has penetrating damage, but also has explosive damage. Bang bang bang. Countless arrows fell on him and exploded, causing him considerable damage. Swish, swish, swish. Boom, boom, boom. Secondly, I want to encourage you to continue to learn and grow. Knowledge is the source of power. Only by continuous learning can we continuously improve our abilities and qualities. Whether it is through reading books, participating in training, or communicating with others, you must actively absorb new knowledge and skills. At the same time, you must also learn from failures, sum up experience from success, and constantly improve your life strategies. Remember, there is no end in life, only continuous progress. As long as you maintain your enthusiasm and perseverance in learning, you will certainly be able to achieve greater achievements on the road of life. His fruit ability beast state is that of a big bird, which is inherently resistant to this type of launch type attack. The Red Earl and Saint Satan also fought against each other. Brush. Hundreds of drops of ruby-like blood appeared around him. To be continued. Wherever the arrow passed, the ice exploded instantly. Dividing line, he waved his hand to form a blockade, and then shot at Satan Saint. Mo Sheng transformed into Yijin Genshin, and the strange bird hooves hooted and flew back into the sky. Poseidon penetrate. Boys, you are the hope of the future and the backbone of society. No matter what difficulties and challenges you encounter on the road of life, you must maintain firm faith and a positive attitude. Believe in your abilities, believe in your dreams, and bravely pursue your own value in life. May you have blooming flowers and bright sunshine on your journey of life. Finally, I want to encourage you to cherish the people around you. The most important thing in life is not material wealth, but the people who experience ups and downs and share joy with us. Cherish your family, they are the most solid backing in your life. Cherish your friends, they are your most loyal partners in life. Cherish your lovers, they are the harbor of your soul. At the same time, we must also learn to care for others, help those in need, and use our actions to convey love and warmth. Only those who know how to cherish and care for others can truly gain happiness and joy. First of all, I want to encourage you to pursue your dreams bravely. Dreams are the beacon of life, they illuminate our way forward and give us direction and motivation. Whatever your dream is, don't be afraid to pursue it. Some people may question you, and you may encounter countless difficulties and setbacks, but please remember that only those who dare to pursue their dreams can truly realize their own life value. Believe in your own abilities, believe in your own choices, take every step bravely, and move towards the other side of your dreams. Bad wind. He flapped his wings. Bat kills gun. It seemed like tens of thousands of people were holding bows and shooting arrows. You don't need to tell me, I also know the brat, the Red Earl responded. With a length of dozens of meters, he jumped into the air. Poison whip. In just a moment, it was automatically eliminated and completely recovered, as if it had never been harmed at all. Once again, I want to encourage you to face challenges and difficulties bravely. Life can't always be smooth sailing. You will encounter various challenges and difficulties. But please believe that these challenges and difficulties are opportunities for you to grow and progress. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is the mother of success. Only by experiencing the baptism of failure can we cherish the joy of success more. When encountering difficulties, don't flinch or escape, face it bravely, analyze it, and find solutions to the problem. Believe in your own abilities and your own wisdom. As long as you persevere, you will be able to overcome difficulties and achieve your goals. Blood drop. The Red Earl said in his heart. Life is like a long marathon, and boys often shoulder more responsibilities and expectations. In this journey, you will encounter various challenges and difficulties, but please believe that every setback is an opportunity for growth, and every persistence is the accumulation of success. As boys, you have endless potential and courage. As long as you maintain firm beliefs and a positive attitude, nothing can stop you from moving forward. Chapter 209. Fierce. Advertisement. The only one without an opponent in the field was Aokiji. Kizaru escorted Akainu back to the warship, and he was expected to arrive later. Kuzan. Go and kill Bega Punk, Satan ordered. After hearing this, the Red Earl said contemptuously, "You must pass my test first and then talk about it." The scarlet color on his body suddenly became more intense, and from a distance it looked like a burning fire. The Red Earl reached to Satan's side with just one hand. The fruits on both sides were both phantom beast species, and their body shapes and sizes were not much different. One is a spider and the other is a bat. The bat opened its fangs and held the spider with great strength in his hand, making it unable to move. Roar. After roaring, he bit into it. Poof, black blood gushed out from Satan's body. He felt some pain, and quickly thrust upward with his sharp foot, aiming directly at the Red Earl's head. Red Earl's bat wings immediately protected his head, only to hear a clang sound. The wings of a bat are harder than fine iron, which makes people feel irresistible. You be ************. It's too late for you to kneel down and apologize to me now, otherwise you will be hunted to the ends of the earth by us, Satan threatened. The Red Count laughed when he heard this. The green-faced fangs of the bat looked quite terrifying. What's more, his mouth was still bleeding with the black blood of Satan, and he looked like an evil ghost crawling out of hell. To the end of the world. If I kill you today, you won't have to worry about it anymore, the Red Earl said thoughtfully. Seeing that he despised himself so much, Satan was filled with rage, and his eyes stared at him like a lion majesty. The Red Earl showed no fear and looked at him with the same eyes. If it were before, he might have been hesitant or even humiliated and escaped. After all, dealing with 5 elders with his strength is no problem at all. Once the intensity is high, hunt him down like 5 people if you add the generals. There was no chance of him surviving, fortunately. He turned his head and glanced at Swain, and suddenly realized that this kid was no longer so annoying. It's useless to talk more. Your blood can improve my strength. If I catch you like last time, I'll enjoy drinking it 3 times a day. He showed a greedy look. When Satan heard what happened last time he was arrested, his face turned from red to black. He could no longer tolerate the Red Earl's provocation. When the scar was uncovered, what was revealed was not the bloody wound, but his small and arrogant self-esteem. King of Spades. Satan roared. A huge black shadow appeared behind him, with red eyes and terrifying fangs. It is 4 to 5 times the size of Satan's beast state. The giant spider black figure jumped up, trying to stab the Red Count with its sharp claws and tear him full of holes. The Red Count finally felt a hint of danger in Satan. It seemed that he was serious about it. But, he smiled secretly, as if he was playing a game. Then, he fluttered his wings and retreated like a ghost statue standing in midair. Open your eyes suddenly. Advertisement. It opens its huge mouth to swallow everything. Roar. The devilish sound penetrates my ears. The originally peaceful space instantly became unstable after the Red Earl's sonic attack. Earthquakes occurred in many places, as if Whitebeard had smashed them with shock fruits, and the ice surface turned upside down. Even Swain, who was fighting Mosh Saint, had to defend his surroundings and block his ears with compressed seawater. The black shadow of the huge spider confronts the sound wave, one red and one black. But, anyone with a discerning eye can see that the Red Earl is even better. The blood-red aura was about to overwhelm the huge spider shadow of Satan. Really, as if it could feel the pain, the huge spider black shadow gradually dissipated between the sky and the earth under the sound waves, turning into nothingness. And Satan has no defense that can block the sound waves. Even Saint Mosh at least has a pair of wings. Under the magic sound, everything will turn into nothingness. Under the attack of this dimensionally reducing ultrasonic wave, the ice surface also turned into seawater and finally disappeared into air. When the mist dissipated, only half of Satan's body was left. Swain was overjoyed when he saw this, and hundreds of sea chains appeared behind him to attack Satan. Seeing that the situation was not good, Saint Mosh ignored the restraint and quickly launched his moves. Gentian is on the run. Miso miso miso. A giant bird shadow similar to Satan's holy move also appeared behind the strange bird, and it flew over almost in the blink of an eye. Swain felt Saint Mosh behind him. With a wave of his finger, the seawater broke through the frozen ice and turned into several walls to hinder Saint Mosh. Field. Swain shouted silently in his heart. A blue ripple centered on him and spread to a radius of 10 miles. With a slight movement of his mind, the density of water in the air increased to an unprecedented height. What's going on? Where does this feeling of obstruction come from? Mosh Shang felt as if his whole body was flying in the water, and his speed was greatly restricted. He glanced ahead and knew it when he saw the smile on Swain's lips. It turns out it was this B************* D who did it, he cursed fiercely. Satan's regeneration ability is certainly very strong, as long as it is not absolutely fatal damage or falling into the sea. It was absolutely possible for him to survive. But something unexpected happened when he fought with the Red Earl. he misjudged his strength, which led to such a tragic situation. What a fool, he always gives up. After all, he is the old guy who has lived with him for hundreds of years, so he will naturally try his best to save him. While driving Swain, he activated his ability to summon the other 5 elders. Swain used his sea water power to observe that Saint Moshe was calling others behind him, but he simply chose to ignore it. Now, as long as he kills Satan Saint Na, he will earn more than anything else. Even if the other 3 people come over, he and Red Earl can escape with Vegapunk. Chapter 210 Rebellion Advertisement on Egghead Island. Vegapunk's data was finally ready, but just as he was about to leave, he suddenly saw several strange people appear on the surveillance camera. I saw 3 forces in the center of the main island, and they all came to the same place at the same time. There is also the CP0 organization secretly observing the situation. Marine Headquarters General Aokiji, Swain's Night Owl assassination organization, but Night Owl is hidden like CP0. There are also Foil and Diamond Josie who come to save Daddy Whitebeard. Wajan held both swords in his hands and said with a smile, "It's been a long time, General Aokiji. You are the swordsman on Whitebeard's ship, why are you here?" Aokiji asked doubtfully. He had his hands in his pockets and was feeling cold. Both sides were extremely jealous when they wanted to see each other. It was obvious that a war was inevitable. "Of course we are here to ask Dr. Garpunky about something, we won't hurt him. I think we won't have any conflicts today, right?" Wajan asked confidently. He knew that Vegapunk was a scientist hired by the world government, but if he just asked some questions, he would not be confrontational. But, this time it was obviously beyond Hujian's expectations. "Really?" Aokiji said in a deep voice. Sizzle. The ice on the ground gradually spread towards Foil and Chaozi. Wajan looked down, guessing that Aokiji was just testing the situation and would not choose to take action. "I'm so sorry, you can't touch Vegapunk because I received an order from my superior, to kill him." Swish, swish, swish. After all the freezing power was released, the temperature suddenly dropped to the freezing point, and a chilly air enveloped the surrounding area. Diamond Chaozi took the lead in blocking the front, and was frozen into an ice sculpture in a moment. Foil's face changed drastically and he quickly put the weapon in front of him, and then the armed color of his hands resisted it. This is the strength of a general. He raised the level of danger to the highest level in his mind. "Dancing Sword of Shang!" Wajan shouted. His figure disappeared immediately, and then pieces of cherry blossoms floated down from the sky. With a thought, Aokiji's surroundings were covered with ice picks, making it difficult for the foil sword to get close. Puffy. Unexpectedly, Aokiji's defense could not stop this dual sword warrior. His sword is elegant and powerful, like a dancer in the sword. As expected of Whitebeard's squad leader, he is quite capable, Aokiji said with a slightly relaxed tone. Fighting the fight that suits you is the best result. In Swain's battlefield, his strength seemed very weak, and he had the mentality of accidentally entering a high-end game. Even Akainu, who had stronger true damage than him, was almost killed by a sniper, let alone a control-type player like him. For a moment, he thought that the whole world was full of strong pirates like Swain and Red Earl. Good thing. Foil and Josie are also among the strong ones, although they are not in the first echelon. But it finally made him a little more confident and no longer doubted his own strength. Josie has quietly broken through the control and turned into an extremely hard and dazzling Diamond Man. Crush. He suddenly launched a sneak attack. A spike appeared on the diamond of the elbow joint, and it hit him with anger on his face. Pung. Aokiji could not resist the elbow blow, and his body broke apart and turned into ice pieces and rolled to the ground. "I almost died." Aokiji gathered his body again and said. "Advertisement, tisk," Chaozi said with a bad expression. His weapon color and knowledge color are not as powerful as Aokiji. If he relies on brute force, he may still be assassinated. But, there are no rules in this world that are turn-based, and there are no rules that prohibit abilities. As long as you can kill the opponent, you are a strong person and there is no such thing as being invincible. At the moment when Aokiji was about to recover, the foil sword stabbed him in the face again. After the sword flash and the shadow of the sword, Aokiji returned to his original form. Wajan knew that the two of them couldn't kill Aokiji, so he asked majestically, "Why do you want to kill Vegapunk? Aren't they from the marine camp? This is our business, it's not your turn to give advice yet." Wajan snorted coldly and said, "They say marine and world government are. If Vegapunk is really killed by Aokiji, there is a real possibility that Whitebeard will not come back. He is very clear about Shiarli's prophetic ability, and it is not an exaggeration to say that he is right in every 10 words. When he thought about his relatives being hindered from being rescued, he couldn't help but feel angry in his heart. This anger surged inside him like a tide. The two organizations, CP0 and Night Owl, were observing all this in secret, and neither of them noticed the other's existence. Only 2 people from CP0 were dispatched, while 3 people from the Night Owl organization were here, and the other 3 went to perform tasks elsewhere. When they heard that Whitebeard was also looking for Vegapunk, they all murmured in their hearts, thinking about what disadvantages this information would bring to one's own side. Suddenly, one of the Night Owls accidentally exposed his traces and was instantly discovered by CP0. A dagger quickly shot into the neck of one of them, killing him on the spot. "Quickly retreat," the leader said immediately. The movement here also attracted Aokiji's attention, but from what he saw and heard, he sensed that they were all weak people, so he didn't mind so much. At this critical moment, the emergence of any force will no longer allow the intervention of the Whitebeard pirates and Swain pirates, which makes him even more concerned. Suddenly, Saint Seiden's order echoed in his mind. Be sure to kill Vegapunk. It's really troublesome. If I had known earlier, I would have refused this mission, he said, feeling a headache. The development of this matter has deviated from the original plan. Akainu was defeated miserably, Saint Seiden was seriously injured, and Vegapunk's camp rebelled. He suddenly discovered that Swain seemed to be behind every major event. Could it be that he has some special physique? He thought in his heart. Ice Pheasant. A huge ice bird formed in the blink of an eye and pounced on the two men with great speed. Wajan jumped into the air and said, "Two sword style, flower picking." Swish, 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 two gorgeous cross sword lights collided with the Ice Pheasant. Aokiji took this opportunity and immediately used Ice Age towards the place where the movement had just been made. Trees, birds and animals all turned into ice sculptures under the power of nature. He cautiously used his sense of sight to investigate again, and after finding that there was no life activity, he relaxed and concentrated on killing Vegapunk. Stab. The foil sword chopped the Ice Pheasant into pieces. Aokiji's face gradually turned cold and he said, "If you two leave my sight now, you may be able to survive." The action of holding the sword with both hands and standing horizontally in front of the body says it all. He won't let Aokiji kill Vegapunk. It's a bit ridiculous to think about it. Once a scientist of the world government, now it's the pirates' turn to save. Marine is on the hunting side, Chapter 211 Death of Saint Seiden. Advertisement. Aokiji sighed and said, "Why bother with all these useless struggles?" Wajan said with firm eyes, "Because we have necessary things to accomplish." "Aren't you afraid of death?" "I'm not as afraid of death as you are." After Aokiji heard what he said, he was not angry, but said calmly, "Really?" Josie was already impatient, and said to Wajan, "I'll stop Aokiji, you go look for Vegapunk." Someone has to choose to stay and stop Aokiji, otherwise Dad's condition will only slowly get worse over time. Wajan knew it was too late, so he nodded solemnly and said, "Be more careful." Then he turned around and walked towards the center of Egghead Island. When the foil figure gradually moved away, Aokiji never chose to stop it. "Does this count as his escape?" he said to himself. Josie was a little stunned and didn't understand what he was talking about. "That's right, it's important to save Whitebeard." Chaozi's face changed instantly. He was not the kind of person that Wajan could hide his thoughts in his heart. Aokiji saw the change in his expression and guessed the reason why these two people came here. It seems that Whitebeard's body is unable to support himself, otherwise he wouldn't have gone all the way to seek help from a marine scientist. Rabbits bite people when they are anxious, not to mention the fierce generals under Whitebeard. It is estimated that if they are not adequately prepared, they can come across a long distance. But he didn't want to worry about these things anymore and suddenly thought about it. What's the use of fighting over Marine Fleet Admiral? Akainu almost lost his life this time. And the biggest reason for him to give up was because of the fate of 5 elders, which would disrupt the original marine system. Why did the 3 of them come here? No news came from the Marine Fleet Admiral Warring States period, but they obeyed the call of the 5 elders. Another thing he found was that he seemed to obey the orders of Saint Seiden, not only him but also Kizaru. If you become a marine, your political philosophy will definitely be contrary to these high-ranking celestial dragons. So, should I listen to myself or follow the arrangements of the 5 elders? There is still a hint in his heart that world government is always higher than marine. Even a general thinks this way, but what about the remaining marines? He even said, "He's just a lackey." He didn't say the last words in his heart. The organization he had struggled for and relied on for half his life had completely disappointed him. He kinda wanted to leave Marine. Ever since first became a Marine, the world has become more and more chaotic. The passionate young man who vowed to protect his family and the people has now become an accomplice of O'Hara's genocide. He is now further and further away from his boyhood ideal. Thinking about this, he felt very melancholy, and when he looked at Chaozi again, his eyes were somewhat envious. Being a pirate seems to be quite freeing, and there is not so much pressure and worry. Josie was confused by him and thought Aokiji was going to use his power to start a war. Unexpectedly, he took off his shirt, put it on his shoulder and held it with one hand. Because it looks cool on Aokiji. Well, maybe it would be good to be a pirate hunter, robbing the rich and giving to the poor. Then he walked away under Josie's vigilant eyes. He no longer chose to kill a scientist who had worked hard for the world government for decades and was ruthlessly abandoned in the end. To some extent, he is somewhat similar to Vegapunk. When Aokiji really left, Josie was released from the diamond status. Leaving now? He stretched his head and looked into the distance again, but Aokiji was no longer visible. What a strange man. Numenon, just go alone. Shakia pleaded, if you take a few of us with you, it will only be a burden. As long as you live, we will still have time to meet. Vegapunk knew that Sakamuni was for his own good and no longer wanted his mother-in-law. If you can escape, you must join me. Then he ordered Seraph. Take me to the top of the experimental layer. The battle between Swain and the 5 elders just now was so shocking that all the long-distance surveillance installed was destroyed. He now needs to go to the top to observe the current battle situation. If Swain loses, he must prepare for the worst. Little Hawkeye, Little Hancock, Little Jinbei, Little Laosha, Little Ming and others protect Vegapunk everywhere. Little Jinbei picked up Vegapunk and flew to the experimental floor. Vegapunk put on a pair of cyan glasses, which gave his experimental subjects the ability to see thousands of miles. When he saw that the science and technology park that he was once proud of was now in ruins. The battle between 4 emperors and 5 elders has moved from the sea to the island. Vegapunk took a closer look and his pupils shook. There is a lot of data in the glasses, analyzing the changes in the situation and the vital characteristics of each person. When he glanced at a gray-haired old man lying on the ground, his glasses showed that there was no life activity. And that old man is Saint Satan. He was shocked by Swain's strength and admired his courage. Saint Satan is dead? He still didn't believe it. Saint Satan once personally tested Seraph's strength, and Seraph even injured him. What impressed him deeply was the regeneration ability of Saint Satan. After noticing it, Vegapunk asked Saint to obtain the blood factor. But he was almost killed on the spot by Saint Satan. He recalled the scene with lingering fear. It was the closest he had come to death. But with such a powerful regeneration ability, why are they still killed? On the battlefield, Saint Satan was already dead, and the Red Earl also suffered several wounds on his body. Only Swain is still fighting against Moshe Saint with great fighting spirit. Old man, I never thought you would be here today. Swain. Moshe Sheng was in a state of a beast. His voice was harsh and he said, if you dare to kill a god, Lord I Am will definitely want you to die a hard death. It doesn't matter how I die, you should take care of yourself first. Swain slapped his palm into the sky, and then a giant blue hand appeared. Although the giant hand is fast, it is not slow at all, and it is about to catch Moshe Sheng in the palm of his hand. Moshe Sheng screamed and escaped from the gap in his palm in an extremely strange posture. Hateful. He had already used 5 elders' unique communication method to communicate with the other 3, but Swain did not give him time to deploy the teleportation array. The remaining 3 people could only rush to Danto Island as fast as possible, but it was a drop in the bucket. Saint Satan has been killed. His regeneration failed to keep up with Swain's destruction. Advertisement. When he thought of the scene at that time, he couldn't help but feel a little sad. Swain opened the field at that time, which greatly reduced Moshe Saint's speed. He used the power of the ocean to create several chains, and the chains were attached with black domineering energy. Saint Satan's body was also tightly entangled in the seawater, unable to move. The ocean itself has the effect of restraining those with devil fruit abilities, immediately greatly limiting Saint Satan's regeneration ability. The miserable state of Saint Satan, whose lower half of his body was gone, can be imagined. He was almost unable to move and did not even make a wailing sound. He was almost losing consciousness. Swain came to Saint Satan's side in 2 or 3 breaths. You. Saint Satan said one word tremblingly. The pain radiating from his body made it difficult for him to speak a complete sentence. Are you afraid of death? Swain's eyes flashed red. Haha. Cough cough cough. How many people have died by your hands? Saint Satan's mouth continued to overflow with blood, and his speech was slurred. 1 city is not enough. There was a look of madness on his face. Swain's death threats didn't scare him at all, or he had already lived a good life. From a small pawn, he met the Ming Lord and finally mastered the seal of the world. He has already enjoyed enough of the ups and downs, glory and wealth in this life. The 5 of them once talked about death together, but he didn't talk about death, like others. Swain heard that Saint Satan still dared to report the count, and he thought that the scene of begging for mercy did not happen. He also wanted to see how ugly the 5 elders, who were the gods of the world and regarded human life as ants, would be in the face of death. Pity. He did not see Saint Satan's fear, but instead showed an attitude of not fearing death. The anger in Swain's heart became more and more intense, and he wanted to slowly execute Saint Satan. At this moment, Moshe Sheng had already rushed over. The sharp mouth poked Swain directly in the head. How can you rely on your old age to show off your old age? Red Earl snorted coldly. He grabbed his sharp claws, clamped his bird's head and threw it 100 meters away. Give me the phone bug that Red Earl is carrying. Aha. Hurry up. Although the Red Earl didn't understand what Swain meant, he still threw it to him. This is the phone bug he uses to communicate with Swain. It is an improved version and can also be used to record images. Swain opened the phone bug and used seawater to lift it to a more suitable place. I am 4 emperors Swain of the New World. The miserable-looking old man in front of me is Saint Satan, one of the highest powers in the world government. As the successor of the D family, my natural mission is to fight against the God family, Celestial Dragon. The Tianlong people are guilty of serious crimes. They use their own rights to enslave the whole world as their own slaves. Tens of thousands of people have been brutally tortured. I once again vow to bring this clan down from the altar. The crazy look on Saint Satan's face finally receded and turned into a look of resentment. You're angry, right? Swain bowed and said, I want to announce your crime to the whole world. Don't worry, it's not just you, but also him, Saint Moshe, Saint Peter. I am not going to let you go. Because killing you 10,000 times is not enough for you to repay this sin. Subsequently, Swain suddenly had a looming blue light on his hand. Poof! He thrust his hand into Saint Satan's heart. Saint Moshe was so distraught that he wanted to kill Swain with his eyes, but the red count did not let him move forward even half an inch. Saint Satan's eyes gradually turned from shock to confusion, and Swain squeezed hard. Pung! The blood mist is flying. The heart is different from the blood on the body, it has hot red blood. Since then, one of the world's top leaders, Ain's right-hand man and the chief culprit of Ohara's genocide, Saint Satan, is dead. Swain won this battle. Swain, the strange bird transformed by Saint Moshe, made a shrill scream. Swain looked around and the trident appeared in his hand. His Qilin arm was slightly bent and he threw it suddenly. Ding, the sound that cut through the space echoed. The trident has a blue tail, like a comet rising into the sky. Moshe Shang knew that he couldn't dodge this blow, so he simply changed his direction and circled in the air before directly receiving it hard. Boom! A huge sound sounded, and the remaining waves lifted up the surrounding ground. The ground cracked and exploded under his feet, raising huge dust and ash. When the smoke cleared, a huge pit was revealed. No one could be seen in that place. Swain concentrated on capturing the figure of Saint Moshe with his sense of sight. Just now, the trident directly pinned Moshe Shang to a house, but disappeared in the blink of an eye. No matter how much I searched, I couldn't find his aura. Just when he was doubting, Moshe Shang's voice suddenly sounded from behind him. "You brat, are you looking for me?" When? Swain groaned in his heart. Boom! Moshe Saint's half-beast stayed kicked him into the ground, and he was able to stop after a depth of dozens of meters. After a while, Swain rose from the ground into the air and said, "Are the three of them coming soon?" Saint Moshe was surprised that Swain could guess that Saint Pit had communicated with him just now and would be arriving in 3 hours. "You are very smart and can guess from my proactive attack." Swain turned to the Red Earl and said, "Night Owl will probably be difficult to deal with, so hurry up and provide support. We must let Vegapunk reach Beehive Island alive." "You brat, don't speak to me in a commanding tone," the Red Earl said, feeling a little curious. However, Swain ignored him and focused on dealing with Saint Moshe. This made the Red Earl even more angry. He cursed secretly and walked away. His Night Owl assassins were carefully selected by him and were much more precious to him than Swain, so he left here immediately. The damage caused to Swain by his blow just now was insignificant, but it was very difficult to kill Saint Moshe. For a strong person of their size, if they can't kill instantly and want to escape, they can't stop them at all. "I won't let you leave here alive," Swain threatened. "These 5 old guys are not only ruthless in their methods, but also very powerful. If you can kill one, earn one." "The moon in the mirror," Swain shouted softly. He smashed the full moon that appeared in front of him with one punch, and the huge impact directly filled Moshe Shang. The ground of Egghead Island was unable to withstand the power of Swain after his awakening, turning from the inside out like an earthquake. Chapter 212: The Strangeness of the Body Advertisement. Boom. The huge shockwave caused the ground of this part of the island to roll, and the stone surfaces of the veins were lifted up layer by layer. Moshe Shang received the impact head-on. After he cried out in pain, his body was twisted. Like a fan blade blown at night, it spins and flies to the sky. He was extremely puzzled and said, "How much strength does this kid still have hidden?" His strength is similar to Saint Satan, but Swain didn't show much strength in the battle. But this blow really stunned him. "I feel that the opponent's strength is like an ocean, and I am the capacity of the pond." Bang bang bang. He finally stopped after hitting dozens of buildings. Swain didn't give him a chance to breathe, and immediately flashed in front of her, Moshe Saint. "B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* impulsive that he charged up a punch. There were some unstable fluctuations in the space, but Swain did not hit Ma Sheng's body, but on a blue ray in front of his opponent. Click. It was like the sound of a water glass falling to the ground and being ruthlessly shattered. Ma Sheng instantly felt a terrifying aura of danger, and narrowly dodged it at the fastest speed in his life. The ground collapsed and surged with the sound of the array disc shattering. And this surge has not stopped yet. The remaining shockwave continues to destroy the ground, and it has directly penetrated to a depth of 100 meters. After Saint Moshe escaped, he took a deep breath. Looking at the ground destroyed by Swain made him understand this power again. A bone on his left shoulder was dislocated due to the impact, and he had to forcefully break it back. What kind of power is this that can almost penetrate the island? Given time, wouldn't it be possible to destroy an island at will? What more ancient weapon is needed? Swain plus his fruit ability is an ancient weapon. He thought about this with lingering fear, and secretly cursed himself for being too careless because there was no difference between him and Saint Satan. Everyone has been deceived by Swain. His strength is far more than what he appears on the surface. No wonder even a monster like the Red Earl would choose to obey his orders, Saint Moshe thought to himself. But so what, he didn't believe that Swain could beat Lord I Am. Think of this. His confidence came back again, just like a dog that always runs home and begs its master after being bitten and suffered a loss. When the master stands behind him, it seems to be full of infinite power. It's just a dog relying on human strength. Tisk. Are you not seriously injured? You ran away very fast at that time, old guy. Swain narrowed his eyes and looked at Moshe Saint rather fiercely. Although Moshe Sheng was deflated, he felt extremely happy when he saw the disappointed look in Swain's eyes for not killing him. He was not afraid of Swain's eyes, but provocatively said, "You can't kill me." Really? Swain blew lightly. These words seemed to be asking himself, rather than answering Mo Sheng. Swain estimated the time in his mind and found that almost half an hour had passed. He didn't want to continue to tangle with Mo Sheng, so he said in a loud voice, "Prisoner of Poseidon." Wow. Wow. Several water pillars rose into the sky, surrounding Danto Island from all sides. The thick clouds in the sky were scattered by the water column, and it looked as if the sky had been pierced from below. Swain said helplessly, "I accidentally went too far. I looked at my hands and saw two blue heraldry-like tattoos on my palms." In fact, it was not that he intentionally hid his power, but that since he awakened his ocean fruit ability, he has become increasingly unable to control it. Every time he fell asleep deep at night, there was always a voice echoing in his mind. "Accept my power, it will make you stronger." What 5 elders, these are. They're just like ants in front of me. Swain asked more than once. "Who are you?" "Me." The voice suddenly laughed. "I am you, you are me. As long as you can accept my power, I can help you get rid of all your enemies and make this world a place for you to dominate." After Swain woke up from his dream, the sound disappeared immediately. He also asked Luo and Norton if they had this feeling, but unfortunately they both shook their heads and said they had no such experience. Since then, his heart has been beating faster and faster. He once calculated the frequency of his heart beating. Twice as much as normal people. This immediately reminded him of Blackbeard, a man born with a special physical structure of 2 hearts. And when he started fighting, sometimes he couldn't control his power at all, and he felt that if he used more power, he would kill others. This is the reason why he won't take action unless he has to. Even if he defends passively, he can only use the lowest level of strength. This is why Saint Moshe suddenly felt that Swain had become much stronger. He was on the same level as him just now, but it would be difficult to resist him next time. For example, just now Swain only showed the tip of the iceberg of his abilities, and he was in a daze, as if someone was taking his place. Seeing that every water column in the sky is glowing with blue fluorescence, this has never happened before. This was something he only discovered in the last few attempts. Looking at this inexplicable power in his heart, he suddenly felt that it was a bit like the power of God. Swain was immediately surprised when the idea came to him. He was an atheist in his previous life. No matter how he was impacted by unscientific ideas in this world, he still firmly believed that there was no God, and that gods were just some powerful special races. But he unexpectedly discovered that now he didn't even have any thoughts that he wouldn't accept. He was afraid that if he used this power again, he might completely lose his sense of autonomy and become another person. In other words, become a demon. What's going on? He asked himself. You have to learn to accept it, young man, said a cold voice. Advertisement. Who? Swain shouted. He vigilantly used his sense of sight to explore the kilometers around him, but could not detect the presence of anyone. I advise you to get rid of that brat first, kid? Swain looked at Moshe Saint. Was this the little devil mentioned in the voice? I am once fought against Joyboy, creating a gap of 800 years and a blank 100 years. He is at least 1,000 years old, and his 5 younger brothers Moshe Sheng are at least 500 years old. It was this old man who was called Little Devil by him. So the owner of this voice is estimated to be several thousand years old, or even longer. Swain shook off these thoughts and thought that Saint Moshe should be dealt with first. The scope of Poseidon's prison is too huge, and as the water column rises into the sky, more and more marine life consciously gather on the sea surface. He looked at Swain with all his eyes, and he felt that this look was like he was in awe of his king. Little prison. Swain shouted secretly. His slender fingers seemed to be plucking the strings of a piano, constantly controlling the water column to become smaller and then turn into a birdcage shape, locking Moshe Saint inside. No matter how hard the opponent collides, they can't escape from it. You brat. If you don't want to be destroyed by Lord I Am, please release me respectfully, Saint Moshe said arrogantly. Swain simply ignored his shouting and turned around to walk deeper into Egghead Island. It's better to move Vegapunk to a safe position first, so that he won't have to fight with the remaining 3-5 elders. Maybe after the battle is over, he will no longer be Swain. When he reached the top floor of the laboratory, the scene in front of him left him speechless. The Red Earl is stepping on Diamond Josie with one foot, and holding the foil sword being tied up in the other hand. Vegapunk was relatively short in stature, with his hands hanging on the Red Earl's arms, and his hands had nowhere to rest in the air and kept swinging. It looks quite funny, and it is hard to imagine that this is the most genius scientist of this century. What are you doing? These 2 thieves said they wanted to take this old man away, so I had to teach them a lesson. Swain signaled the Red Earl to let go of the foil sword and Josie, but he was very unhappy and said, This kid is going to have his teeth knocked out, I can't let him go. The tone was extremely sarcastic, and he did not hide his pride at all. Josie was stepped on by the Red Count so hard that his breathing was a little unsteady. He spoke intermittently. You are a B****************************************************************************************************************************************************************่If you let me. The strength of the Red Earl's feet became even heavier, and Josie's final words could not be heard. The double blades of the foil were spinning back and forth like tricks on the Red Earl's fingers. The white-bearded old man has a bunch of good-for-nothing sons like you. No wonder his strength has declined so quickly. Even a few brats marine can't deal with it. The imp marine he was talking about was the three generals. You are not allowed to slander Dad, Wajan scolded. He was struggling hard and wanted to turn around and give the Red Earl a sneak attack, but unfortunately the other party noticed it and squeezed his shoulder blades in pain, causing him to break into a cold sweat. The Red Earl snorted coldly and said disdainfully, HMPH, it's just because your father has a white beard that you are alive now, do you understand? Then he threw the foil sword out and hit it on the heavy metal instrument. Swain took a moment to reply, I know, I won't spread the news. Chowzi couldn't make the decision at all on this matter. If you don't tell me, I can't just let you take Dr. Vegapunk away. Wajan observed everyone's faces. He knew that if this news was released by someone with intentions, it would cause a huge backlash. After exchanging a look with Foil, he asked Swain, if you can help us keep this secret and let us temporarily take away Dr. Vegapunk, we can tell you. Stop it. Wajan felt helpless. Even if Swain spread the news, there was nothing he could do. Wajan said solemnly, I just want to ask you not to reveal this matter. Swain asked, what are you doing with Vegapunk? The 5 elders and the 3 generals were blocked outside by Swain and Red Earl. If they hadn't blocked Vegapunk in front, they would have died by now. It doesn't matter if you don't say anything, I will take the doctor away anyway. He wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Wajan took a look at Swain's face, but did not tell the reason. He only trusts his relatives in the pirate group. Besides, who knows if Whitebeard did this because he coveted Seraph's power. Swain saw that he didn't answer him, and he didn't tolerate him. Swain stopped and looked at them with his arms folded on his chest. Swain laughed loudly. You seem to have not realized the current situation. This young and shameless person is even more ferocious than Kaido. The longer you live in this world, the more you realize that there is nothing that cannot be driven by interests. Thank you all for this. This news is no less than dropping a depth charge on calm water. If he was really aggressive and led a group of people to attack the enemy, it might be playing into Swain's plan. Chowzi obviously lost his temper and said dejectedly, Dad is seriously ill. Don't. Josie shouted immediately, then please tell me. Kill Swain. Swain pretended to leave with Vegapunk. Foil's eyes flickered and then he lowered his head. The pirates without Whitebeard are like a tiger without its claws, there is no threat at all. Moreover, Whitebeard's physical injuries have inevitably increased since the peak war, and it is already very difficult to survive until now. The result of the backlash is likely to cause the Whitebeard pirates to completely withdraw from the stage of history. Chapter 213 The Gainer Advertisement. That sounds like bad news, Swain said. Wajan was a little moved when he heard this, but when he saw Swain's expressionless face, he knew that the other party was negotiating terms. The negotiations between the 4 emperors were difficult to negotiate just on interests alone. What does Swain want? Money, weapons, or people? He doesn't know, because the opponent doesn't need them at all. The Whitebeard pirates don't have much money to speak of, and they don't have many weapons. They can only support the use of their own pirate group. Swain's country of Wano specializes in the production of weapons. The large amount of gold in the Golden City and the large amount of heavenly gold obtained from Tesoro make it impossible for him to spend all his money. What do you want? Wajien asked in a low voice. Swain avoided the question and instead asked, how is Whitebeard's injury? Dad just suffered from some internal injuries. He has been recovering well in the past few days. Swain gave Foil a silent gesture, and he came to Josie and asked the Red Earl to untie him. Huh? Are you sure you want to let him go? This guy's head is very hard, Red Earl said. It doesn't matter, I'm here. As soon as Chowzi loosened up, his body transformed into a full-body diamond. You know, if I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have to go to such trouble. Okay, I've been honest enough with you. Seeing his eyes exchange with Fijian, Swain said slowly, if you want to save Whitebeard, you can only rely on Mr. Vegapunk. I am willing to help you because I have some friendship with him. Swain shrugged indifferently. He was trying to deceive Josie, wanting to know the extent of Whitebeard's injuries so that he could exchange benefits. Josie's eyes were a little moved. He knew that Swain was telling lies, but for the sake of his father, he had to make it clear that he would save Whitebeard no matter how great the loss was. Dad, he is already unconscious. Chowzi's words were shocking. Even though Swain had already guessed most of them, he still couldn't help but take a deep breath when he heard the words. Whitebeard is already in his 70s, and his body has hidden wounds from his youth, and his vitality has been shaken by the massacre in the war above, so there will naturally be severe backlash. What do you want before you let Vegapunk rescue Daddy? When Swain wanted to negotiate with Foil, he asked someone to take Vegapunk away from here in advance and go to Beehive Island. On the one hand, it was for his safety, and on the other hand, he was afraid that Vegapunk would deviate from his plan while he was talking. Swain finally revealed his plan and said, I want a territory under your jurisdiction. Impossible. Wajan refused first. There are at least hundreds of thousands of people on a site, and the value they create is simply immeasurable. And if the father knew about it, the first thing he would do after waking up would be to expel his son from the Whitebeard pirates. So he would not agree to anything on this matter. Swain smiled and told him not to be so excited. Don't refuse in such a hurry. You have to think about Whitebeard's life and death. Swain continued. If my guess is correct, Whitebeard's injury will last him a month at most. Advertisement. As soon as he said this, Wahian's expression suddenly changed. When he went to Fishman Island to find Shiarli's prophecy, she said that Whitebeard still had 6 weeks to live. It has taken them nearly a week to get here, and 2 weeks to get back and forth. If there were any accidents along the way, it might take even longer and Whitebeard would have to collect the body. After Swain noticed the change in Hujian's expression, he felt more confident. And the most important thing is that I have no conflict of interest with you, right? Swain looked at him when he asked this question, and Huajian felt as if his hair was being stared at by an ancient giant beast, which made him shudder. Huajian heard what Swain said and felt that it was right. When Swain, a rising star, was still growing up, the contradiction between the original 4 emperors Kaido and his Whitebeard was really unbearable. Because of territorial issues, Kaido has to touch Whitebeard's troubles almost every year. A few years ago, Whitebeard fought with Kaido from time to time. They didn't give up until Kaido fled in panic. Another 4 emperors Big Mom, that's not to mention the contradiction is even bigger than Kaido. She wants to establish a all nations, where all races exist, so she has always wanted the right to rule the Fishman Island. But with her character, once she goes crazy and almost kills everyone on sight, Whitebeard will not choose to cede Fishman Island to her. No matter how many chips Big Mom offers, Whitebeard will not waver. Needless to say about the red hair, his former captain Roger and Whitebeard were old friends. Although the two were very different in age, their relationship had no impact at all. This can be seen from the fact that the red hair initially wanted to stop Whitebeard from saving Ace. This was also for Whitebeard's benefit. Old age and frailty are not just something you say by the way. Only when it really comes to you will you feel terrible. Tell me your conditions? Huajian finally compromised. Can you represent the Whitebeard pirates? Swain suddenly asked this question. Huajian and Shaozi looked at each other, and then he nodded and said, I can do it. His bottom line is the lowest. If the conditions are not acceptable to him, then the negotiation requirements are really too harsh. I want you to cede Fishman Island to me. Huajian replied without even thinking. Impossible. Many of the Fishman Islands are our partners, and our Whitebeard pirates will never give up any of our partners. Swain was not surprised by this answer, and he was not angry because of the foil rejection. Don't be so anxious to refuse. Maybe you can refuse after listening to my request. No matter what conditions you say, as long as it's about ceding our companions, we won't agree to it. This is the bottom line. Bai Jay's face began to turn red. How long can Whitebeard live? Swain asked. As soon as Josie heard this, he rushed over like a bison. The seawater under Swain's feet jumped like a fish, pounced on Josie's body and entangled his legs, as if they were sealed by cement. No matter how he moved, he could not break free from the shackles of the seawater. Both of you are irrational. If there is another collision like this, we will end the negotiation, Swain scolded. His voice is quite majestic, and his temperament has now undergone a radical change. Swain didn't notice that his mentality was changing inadvertently, as if he was adjusting to someone's personality. The Red Earl looked at Swain thoughtfully, and suddenly felt that the kid in front of him was a little strange. As for where it was strange, he couldn't tell. What I want is the jurisdiction of Fishman Island after Whitebeard's death. Chapter 214 Changes in the Situation Advertisement. What I want is the jurisdiction of Fishman Island after Whitebeard's death. What? Huajian glared angrily. Dad is not dead yet, your appearance is too ugly. The Red Earl Conquerors on the side suddenly erupted, and his powerful aura shocked him. Kid, don't forget that your life is still in my hands. Your attitude is too arrogant, the Red Earl said lightly. Okay, I apologize for what I said just now, Swain immediately said, submissive. After he heard that Whitebeard was critically ill, he had a bold plan in his mind, which was to merge with Whitebeard's remnants. It is conceivable that even after Whitebeard is rescued by Vegapunk, how long can he last with his critically ill body? 1 year? 2 years? By then, there will be more and more rising stars in the pirate camp. Although the strength of the world government has been weakened, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. These remnants, protected by Whitebeard, are too hedonistic. At present, it seems that no one of the dozen squad captains has the potential to be a leader. Even the strongest Marco is not qualified. In the original plot, after Whitebeard died in battle, Marco led the remaining people to fight against Blackbeard, and finally fled in defeat. The world is gradually eliminating the weak, and the survival concept of survival of the fittest is most vividly reflected here. So once Whitebeard dies, who will inherit this inheritance? According to family relationships, Swain does not have this qualification. But this world does not pay attention to this kind of relationship with you, but rather, strength comes first. Swain does not want to impress them with his strength, because human nature will not follow you unless he sees the immediate benefits. He could imagine that when Whitebeard dies, these people will inevitably inherit Whitebeard's banner, but there will be no strong and rational leader. Marine and world government, and even pirates who had enmity with Whitebeard in the past, will carry out destructive revenge. It is not until these people are facing death that they probably think about how great it would be to join Swain, and by then it is already too late. If Swain used this kind of rhetoric, they would definitely not listen. But Whitebeard will understand. He has grown step by step from a nobody who was subjugated to the world's top powerhouse. Pirates, Marines, Revolutionary Army, world government, he knows the cruelty of these struggles. Swain was confident of convincing Whitebeard. Hearing Swain's apology, Huajian's anger was mostly gone. After all, the other party is a 4 emperors, to have such an attitude, he had to give Swain face. He waved his hand and said, I said, Dad will never give up any of his companions. Swain laughed, relaxing the current atmosphere. Old man with white beard will understand my intention. I will not touch Fishman Island even if he is alive. Wajien's face turned pale when he heard this, and his lips moved helplessly. Yes, Dad is already old, and he really hasn't thought about what Whitebeard will do after his death. Can he hold on to the empire he has built throughout his life? Obviously not, therefore, Siwei's tone changed. Even if you don't tell me to call me, I will unconditionally bring Vegapunk over to treat Whitebeard. Seeing that Swain's expression was not fake, Wajian chose to remain silent. When Ace was about to be killed by Akainu, Swain did help them. Usually when there is a conflict between personnel from both sides, Swain always gives in. Advertisement not as aggressive as Kaido before. All these made Wajian have a good impression of the young king in front of him, and he couldn't help but think about his suggestions at this time. I'll take the message to the other captains. Swain was ecstatic when he heard this, and the ability of the foil sword to convey this meant that the matter would most likely be settled. But on the surface, he still showed no sign of mountains and rivers, saying, then just wait for the good news. Several people left Danto Island one after another. Swain no longer cared about the huge ancient robot on Egghead Island, because it didn't belong to him at all, or it was originally something prepared for the sun god Nika. He sat on the bow of the boat with a disappointed look, looking at the boundless horizon. I haven't noticed such beautiful scenery for a long time. This is the warship obtained by robbing the world government spy organization from Egghead Island. The setting clouds and the solitary owl fly together, and the autumn water becomes the same color as the sky. Have no idea. The sound is still loud and clear despite the patter of rain. In the blink of an eye, he came to the side of Peter Saint and the other three people, and shouted angrily. You blame me? If you three losers had refused to come with me, Saint Satan would not have died at all. Saint Moshe. Saint Peter shouted angrily, Swain looks pretty good. When Saint Peter heard that the responsibility was placed on him, he said angrily, what did you say? In theory, his identity is the god of Poseidon. Even if you die in front of him, there will be no movement at all. I understand. Wajian said calmly to Kaido. Several buildings in the distance were destroyed again, and the city's power system was paralyzed. An autumn rain came untimely. D. Why can't I feel the breath of Saint Satan? Peter Saint and the other three finally arrived at Danto Island. Seeing that Danto Island, which was once rich in technological aesthetics, was now devastated, they felt nothing at all. Josie didn't know how to answer him. Have no idea. Have no idea. Without Dad, we're just a bunch of losers, Wajian said dejectedly. It instantly transformed into a beastly state into a terrifying and disgusting big insect, with its abyssal mouth open. Bang bang bang, base. He really felt that the world had changed from this experience. Both the sun god and the sea god existed at different times, and the sea god Poseidon existed for a longer and longer time. Wajian asked Josie in return, what do you think we have the confidence to refuse? You said that if Dad really dies, do we want to join Swain's pirate group? Josie and Foil were sailing on the sea. Their original boat had been destroyed by the fighting wind and waves. Can you stop saying you don't know? Josie said angrily. Moshe Sheng's figure was so fast that he could almost only see his afterimage. Do you really want to agree to this condition? Jose asked. The atmosphere between the two reached freezing point, and the atmosphere became tense. Will Dad really be revived by Vegapunk? Chapter 215 Arrival? Advertisement. The atmosphere between the two reached freezing point, and the atmosphere became tense. Do you need me to say it again? Saint Moshe howled loudly. If you bear all the blame, it will be really over, and your status in Master Im's heart will plummet in the future. If the plan is completed at that time, the reward, I estimate, will be much less. Although they are said to be relatively cold-blooded towards ordinary people, they are relatively kind to the celestial dragon people. 5 people like the 5 elders are all founding fathers. Losing just one of them would be a real earthquake. If you two continue to quarrel, I think Lord Im's punishment will be unbearable for us, Saint Wetchuli said solemnly. Nashu Langsheng also said, so can you be quiet for a while? You have this time to think about how to deal with the aftermath. Saint Moshe snorted and then released the fruit form. His inverted V-shaped beard was also stained with blood at this time, and his embarrassed appearance made several people look at him. Where's that B******** D Swain? Saint Peter asked knowingly. At this point, I probably can't even see any personal hair. He has been in charge of the world for hundreds of years, whether it is Roger who arrived at Ravdaru and knew the truth about the world, or the infamous dragon who intended to overthrow the world government. Even if the first two were making a fuss, they're just grasshoppers after autumn, and they will not be able to jump around for long. So what if Roger becomes one piece? In the end, it was spread everywhere to shock Xiao Xiao. As long as Long knows about his Revolutionary Army headquarters, I.M. can make them disappear completely with a single blast of destruction light. Neither of these two people had ever made him feel so aggrieved as he did today. Saint Pitt's face showed no expression of true anger after the Taishan collapsed. Masheng replied coldly, escape together with Vegapunk. We'll eat this brat and turn him into a pile of excrement for me, Saint Peter cursed. Saint Nisholong no longer wanted to argue with Saint Pitt, he was more concerned about the body of his old friend. Then he interrupted the two people's communion here and asked, where is Saturn's body? God of Science and Defense, Jigelsia Satan, name means Saturn. Agricultural God of War, Shepherd 10 Peter, name means Jupiter. Financial Goddess of War, Zambalong V Nasthirang Sage, name means Venus. Legal God of War, Topman Voshuori, name means Mercury. Environmental God of War, Marcus Ms Saint, name means Mars. IM represents the moon. There. Moshe Sheng pointed to a place with his finger. Everyone followed his direction and saw a vague figure lying on the ground about a kilometer away. Several people had excellent eyesight, and they could see at a glance that the death of Saint Satan was miserable. Only half of his body was left. There was a black hole in his heart, and the organs inside were gone. And for some reason, the blood of Saint Satan has dried up and the congealing flail has merged with the ground. Even the blood of ordinary people would not be like him. Is he dead? Asked Saint Peter. Moshe Sheng said with a hint of vigilance. What are you going to do? Nothing. Saint Moshe waved his hand and hit Saint Satan's body while the others looked at him in astonishment. You be asterisk 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 d. Moshe Sheng said angrily. He did not expect that not only would Saint Peter not sympathize with Saint Satan, but he would even destroy the body. The pirate world attaches great importance to things after death, which can be seen from the way people set up tombs to worship people. Saint Wuchuli immediately stood in front of him and comforted him. Don't be too impulsive. You know there are too many secrets about us, and it will be a huge shock if they're leaked. So we have to destroy the corpse? Just to be on the safe side, we have to check if he's dead. Then if he is still alive, wouldn't he really be dead after this blow? Saint Moshe asked. If he is still alive, we will naturally save him. As you know, there are people in this world who can extract souls. Saint Wuchuli explained. This is a rule set by Lord Im. Do you have any objections to this? Saint Pit scolded. The death of his companion will not affect the speed of his attack. Moshe Sheng pointed at him angrily, then flicked his sleeves and stood silently. Advertisement. It has been 3 days since Swain returned to Beehive Island. Stop. Who is coming? Tell me your name. When Swain was about to step into the airspace of Beehive Island, he was suddenly blocked by someone. It's me. See you, King Ming. This subordinate is short-sighted. The guard quickly knelt down and apologized. Swain waved his hand and said, Get up, I forgot to shave and tidy up recently, so it doesn't matter if I can't recognize him. Yes. The soldiers heard this and stood aside respectfully. Half a month has passed since Swain set off from Nine Snake Island, experienced Egghead Island, and returned to Beehive Island. Subsequently, he went to the office and wanted to ask Luo if anything had happened recently, but he heard his subordinates reporting that he had gone to Cake Island. He suddenly wondered, Cake Island is Big Mom's territory, what is Luo doing there? So I asked, has he ever told me what he was going to do? He left you a letter. Swain saw that the seal of the letter was still there, with no trace of anyone having touched it. When he opened it, his face became gloomy, and the terrifying aura on his body was unconsciously exposed. The guards couldn't bear it any longer, and they all fainted and lay on the ground. And Roy wrote in a letter to Swain. The boss went out to play again. On the 7th day after you left, Big Mom's fleet came near Wano country. We decided to drive them away after warning to no avail. But it's obvious that the other party has bad intentions. It's a fleet led by Katakuri. After they landed in Wano country, they intended to snatch our Kylo stone secrets, but I sent troops to drive them away. The letter was not large and contained not many words, so Swain turned over the other side and continued reading. I had no choice but to start a war with them, but the other side seemed to expect that you were not on Beehive Island. After the battle, Katakuri was seriously injured, and Big Mom asked us to go to peace talks. Luo made the matter very clear in his letter. It was all Big Mom's people who caused the trouble. Only then did Swain understand why Big Mom had told him the news about Blackbeard's attack on Nine Snakes Island. It turns out that all my thoughts are focused on the idea of Wano country, and it is also the most secret sea stone technology. Times and percent hash it, section no 2113. Filled circle concentric circles hollow square filled diamond hollow circle concentric circles 5261. Pound cent degree C. Co 4102 kilobits 1653. At hash dollar carat and percent. Dollar hash. Asterisk and percent and at 34% hash. Heart. No square root times divided by degree C degree F degree. Filled diamond hollow diamond yin yang Star of David Company. Limited Wan male sign female sign. Answered on the 31st of May 2021. Garbled characters China, a great country with a long history and splendid civilization, is like a bright pearl, shining with a unique and dazzling light in the east of the world. From the ancient Yellow River civilization to today's modern and powerful country, China has experienced countless ups and downs, but has always maintained its tenacity and vitality, creating one amazing miracle after another. In the long history, China has countless glorious chapters. As early as thousands of years ago, China gave birth to the great Chinese civilization. The 4 great inventions, papermaking, printing, gunpowder, and the compass, not only changed China, but also had a profound impact on the development of world civilization. The ancient Silk Road connected trade and cultural exchanges between the East and the West, allowing Chinese silk, ceramics and other exquisite items to go to the world, and also allowing the world to appreciate the breadth and depth of Chinese culture. In the field of ideology and culture, China is even more unique. Philosophical schools such as Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism have provided people with rich spiritual nourishment and moral principles, and have influenced generations of Chinese people. Art forms such as poetry, calligraphy and painting, opera and music demonstrate the unique aesthetic taste and creativity of the Chinese people. Those classic works that have been passed down through the ages, such as the Book of Songs, the Analects of Confucius, Orchid Pavilion Preface, Along the River during the Qingming Festival, etc., all demonstrate the charm and heritage of Chinese culture. China's ancient architecture is also a treasure in the history of world architecture. The majestic Great Wall is like a giant dragon winding between the mountains. It is not only a solid fortification, but also a symbol of the perseverance of the Chinese nation. The majestic Forbidden City, with its red walls and yellow tiles, is magnificent, carrying the history and glory of the Ming and Qing dynasties. And the ingenious Suzhou Gardens, with their exquisite layout and unique artistic conception, make people forget to leave. These ancient buildings bear witness to the wisdom and creativity of the ancient Chinese people and are precious cultural heritage of the Chinese nation. However, China's development has not been smooth sailing. In modern times, China suffered from aggression and bullying by foreign powers, and the country fell into a dilemma of internal and external troubles. However, the Chinese people did not surrender. Countless people with lofty ideals stood up and fought tirelessly and bravely for the independence of the country and the liberation of the nation. From Lin Zexu's ban on opium and human to the revolution of 1911 led by Sun Yat-sen, from the May 4th movement to the founding of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese people gradually awakened and embarked on a great journey of national rejuvenation. Under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, China has made a great leap from standing up, getting rich, and becoming strong. After the founding of New China, the Chinese people, under the leadership of the party, worked hard and overcame numerous difficulties to establish an independent industrial system and national economic system. Since the reform and opening up, China has ushered in rapid economic and social development, and its comprehensive national strength has continued to improve. Today, China has become the world's second largest economy and has made world-renowned achievements in the fields of technological innovation, infrastructure construction, culture and education. Scientific and technological innovation is a powerful driving force for China's development. China has made breakthrough progress in high-speed rail, 5G communications, e-commerce, artificial intelligence and other fields, and some technologies have reached world-leading levels. High-speed rail networks spread across the country, making people's travel more convenient and efficient. The widespread application of 5G communication technology will usher in a new era of interconnection of everything. The booming development of e-commerce has changed people's consumption patterns and living habits. The research and application of artificial intelligence, injecting new vitality into economic and social development. Infrastructure construction is a solid support for China's development. China has built the world's longest highway, longest railway, largest port, as well as many modern airports, bridges, tunnels, etc. The construction of these infrastructures not only promotes the development of the domestic economy, but also strengthens connections and cooperation with countries around the world. At the same time, China also actively participates in international infrastructure construction, such as the many projects in the One Belt, One Road initiative, and has made important contributions to the development of countries along the routes. The prosperity of cultural and educational undertakings is an important guarantee for China's development. China attaches great importance to education, has popularized 9-year compulsory education, vigorously developed higher education, and trained a large number of high-quality talents. At the same time, China's cultural undertakings are also booming. Films, TV series, music, dance and other literary and artistic works have won many awards internationally, and the influence of Chinese culture continues to expand. China also actively carries out foreign cultural exchanges, spreading Chinese culture to the world through platforms such as the Confucius Institute, and enhancing friendship and understanding with people of other countries. China is also playing an increasingly important role on the international stage. China actively participates in global governance, promotes the building of a community with a shared future for mankind, and contributes Chinese wisdom and Chinese solutions to solve global problems. In dealing with climate change, counterterrorism, peacekeeping and other international affairs, China has demonstrated its responsibility as a great power. At the same time, China actively carries out foreign aid to help developing countries develop their economies and improve people's livelihood, which has won widespread praise from the international community. The beauty of China is not only reflected in its achievements in economy, science and technology, and culture, but also in the spiritual outlook of the Chinese people. The Chinese people are diligent and courageous, work together and strive for self-improvement, and have always maintained their yearning and pursuit for a better life. When facing difficulties and challenges, the Chinese people have always been able to unite as one, work tenaciously, and create miracles one after another. This great spiritual power is the source of motivation for China's continuous progress. Looking back on the past, we are proud of China's brilliant achievements. Looking forward to the future, we are full of confidence and expectations for China's development. Under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, China will continue to unswervingly follow the path of socialism with Chinese characteristics, continue to promote reform, opening up and modernization, and realize the Chinese dream of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. At the same time, China will continue to work hand in hand with other countries around the world to jointly build a better world. Let us jointly wish China a better tomorrow. Let us work hard for China's prosperity. Let us sing the praises of China and cheer for our great motherland. Chapter 216 Changes in the Situation Advertisement. Swain burned the letters. Then he learned that the one currently guarding Beehive Island could only smile. The letter did not mention whether the ant would end up, and he guessed that there was a high probability that there would be no fate. Otherwise, these guards would not stay here leisurely, but would go to the front line to fight against the soldiers coming down from Cake Island. Therefore, Charlotte Linlin will definitely choose this time and choose a sneak attack when Swain and Red Earl are both absent. As for the so-called negotiation, it is estimated that only she can bring it up shamefully. Swain asked Norton and the 9 heroes of Chisao to guard the place together, with one responsible for external defense and the other responsible for internal security. So Katakuri didn't expect that the country of Wano would send so many strong men. Shouldn't it be a hive island of core politics, or a golden city with national prosperity? It happened to be a backward samurai country, heavily guarded by troops. In fact, Swain did this not entirely for external resistance, but more for Norton to guard against any rebellion within Wano. After all, he had heard rumors that Wano country itself was a huge weapon, an ancient weapon. So naturally I paid special attention to it, but I didn't expect that one day it could be used to defend against foreign enemies. At that time, Luo used Swain's authorization to order Blair to stand still and protect the safety of the Golden City. Yishao's mission is to protect the outer security of Beehive Island and make sure that no Andes soldiers sneak in and cause destruction in the city. After doing this, he went to support Norton. After Katakuri was discovered, he just wanted to escape but was held back by Cracker. Norton's strength was simply not something Cracker could withstand, so Katakuri had to go to help, and both of them were held back. But Zeus, the dark cloud beside Anti, also followed and quickly covered the two of them before they were able to escape. By the time Luo arrived, they had already fled without a trace. As for whether they have obtained the top secret of Wano country's Sea Tower Stone, it is unknown. He had read a statistic prepared by Luo in advance. Almost all the old craftsmen of Hailu Stone in Wano country had been slaughtered, leaving only a few dying old people. Auntie didn't want to anger Swain, nor did she want to be responsible for the failed sneak attack, so she had to use negotiation. Swain slammed his fist on the table, and an extremely precious ceramic table instantly shattered into pieces. Roland. Swain shouted. When Swain is angry, conquerors will show up unconsciously. After the guards felt Swain's powerful aura, they all stood up in awe, not even daring to breathe. Roland came to Swain soon. Captain. Swain hadn't seen this old crew member who followed him for a long time, and he felt that he was almost unrecognizable to him. She walked slowly, wearing a simple and exquisite white dress, the hem of the skirt fluttering gently with her steps. The cut of the skirt is just right, and the smooth lines outline her graceful figure. It is not ostentatious but full of elegance. The top part is decorated with delicate lace, which adds a sense of sophistication and femininity to her. Her long, glossy black hair fell down on her shoulders like a waterfall, exuding a faint luster. The accessories are also very particular. She wears a pearl necklace around her neck. The warm pearls exude a soft light and complement her skin. Her face is quiet and gentle, and the light makeup makes her facial features more three-dimensional and charming. The light lipstick highlights her good complexion and unique charm. The whole person looks elegant and elegant, like a fairy walking out of a painting, which makes people feel moved. Swain was not a lecher and he would not attack his companions. How much do you know about Big Mom? Swain asked. Is it about the last time? Roland asked in a low voice. Her voice also changed. It seemed to be clear and pleasant, which seemed to make people feel less depressed. Instead, Swain suddenly asked with some emotion. How long have you been following me? She tilted her head while holding the book and calculated. It's been about more than 3 years. Yeah, 3 or 4 years have passed in a flash. Swain touched the gem on the chair. His life has become ridiculously extravagant, and he is no longer the young man who loved eating meat and joking with his companions. The boy who once thought about whether he could survive for a long time has now become the 4 emperors that everyone respects. Roland interrupted Swain's thinking and asked, what do you seem to be worried about? Oh, you don't have to be so respectful, advertisement. Hearing his former companion address him as, you, made me feel a little uncomfortable. At first, he had angrily scolded Akainu for treating his companions as subordinates, but he didn't expect that he would turn out to be someone he hated. Prepare a boat for me, I'm going to Cake Island. Are you going to see Mr. Luo? Swain nodded. Roland said, but when you didn't come back yesterday, Mr. Luo changed the location of their negotiation temporarily over the phone and it was not on Cake Island. Huh? Swain immediately felt something was wrong and temporarily changed the location. There seems to be some conspiracy involved. He and Roland said, call Luo immediately. If no one gets through, keep calling for an hour. If no one gets through yet, tell me immediately. The guard immediately picked up the phone and started to draw numbers. Broomabubub, no one answered the phone. Blue blue blue. Called again, still no one answered. Gia ha 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 ha, Blackbeard laughed. In addition, we must maintain a positive and optimistic attitude. It is inevitable that you will encounter various difficulties and setbacks in life, but please believe that every difficulty is an opportunity for growth, and every setback is a stepping stone to success. Maintain an optimistic attitude, face the challenges of life with a smile, and overcome difficulties and obstacles with courage. Just like Helen Keller, although she was blind and deaf since childhood, she still relied on her tenacious perseverance and optimistic spirit to become a great writer and educator, inspiring countless people to move forward bravely. So, it seems like not all Big Mom 4 emperors are monsters like Swain. Dot 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 dot. Don't think I don't know. You sold the news of my appearance on Nine Snakes Island to Swain, Blackbeard said with a grim look on his face. May your youth bloom with the most brilliant light. Cake Island. Who on earth is it? Do you want to frame Big Mom for a fight with Swain and drain his fighting power to reap the benefits? Young people, you have the most precious wealth, time and energy. This is the capital that you can use freely and explore boldly. Don't be afraid of failure, because failure is the mother of success, and every setback is a training for growth. Do you still remember the hardships Steve Jobs had when he founded Apple in his garage? He experienced countless failures and setbacks, but it was these experiences that shaped his perseverance and ultimately made Apple a globally recognized innovation leader. You can also be like him and try bravely to pursue your dreams. Charlotte Linlin, one of the emperors of the sea, was sitting on the ground with a tired look on her face. Living in an era of rapid technological advancement and highly developed information, you have unprecedented resources and opportunities. The internet makes acquiring knowledge easy, and social media allows you to communicate and share with people around the world. You can show your talents and creativity on various platforms, and you can also acquire various skills and knowledge through online learning. At the same time, the diversity and openness of society also provide you with more choices and possibilities. You can pursue the career you truly love and bravely explore different fields without being bound by traditional concepts and models. It's a bit unlikely. Although this woman is crazy, he is not a fool. Since he wants to negotiate with Luo, it is impossible for him to do such a stupid thing. In this era full of vitality and opportunities, I would like to extend my most sincere encouragement and warmest expectations to you. You are the main force of this era and the hope of the future. Your youth shines with endless possibilities and contains the power to change the world. Red hair? Young people, your future is full of infinite possibilities. Don't be intimidated by the difficulties in front of you, don't be defeated by temporary failures. Take every step bravely, pursue your dreams firmly, and use your youth and sweat to write your own glorious chapter. This era is your stage, let the world become more exciting because of you. Secondly, we must continue to learn and improve. In this era of knowledge explosion, knowledge and skills are updated very quickly, His expression was different from the past, and the knife in his hand was dripping with blood. It seemed that he had experienced a fight. Finally, I want to say to you again, believe in yourself, you can definitely do it. Come on, young people. The first thing Swain suspected was world government, but this incident happened during Swain's duel with world government. Or maybe Big Mom really did something stupid. Swain put his hands on both sides of his head, thinking, Big Mom? Teamwork is also crucial. No one can do everything alone. An excellent team can bring together the wisdom and strength of everyone to create results that far exceed individual capabilities. Learn to cooperate with others, learn to listen to and respect the opinions of others, and learn to use your strengths in a team. This will be a valuable asset in your life. Just like basketball superstar LeBron James, he not only has the personal ability of penultimate, but also knows how to lead the team to victory. His success is inseparable from the support and cooperation of his teammates. On the road to chasing your dreams, knowledge and skills are your weapons. Continuous learning and continuous improvement of yourself are the only way for you to succeed. In today's world, the speed of knowledge upgrading is getting faster and faster. You must maintain a thirsty heart for knowledge, extensively dabble in knowledge in various fields, and constantly broaden your horizons and ways of thinking. At the same time, we should also pay attention to cultivating our practical ability and test and improve our theoretical level through practice. Only in this way can you remain invincible in the fierce competition. He shook his head secretly. This was even more impossible. First of all, he didn't even bother to do such a thing. Secondly, Swain had no conflict with the red hair. Teach, if I tell that old guy Whitebeard that you show up here, will he come over with a knife and kill you? Swain suddenly felt bad. With Luo's character, it was impossible to leave the phone bug with him. Opportunities and challenges always coexist. In this era of fierce competition, you are also facing tremendous pressure and difficulties. Employment pressure, academic pressure, interpersonal pressure, etc. may make you feel anxious and confused. However, please believe that these are the only way to grow. Every setback and difficulty is a valuable learning opportunity, which will make you stronger and more mature. Dividing line, this unknown mystery appeared in Swain's mind, making him wonder whose handiwork it was. Then there is only one possibility, he is in danger. In the face of pressure and difficulties, we must first maintain a positive and optimistic attitude. Life is like a marathon, there will be ups and downs along the way, but as long as we maintain firm faith and an unyielding spirit, we will be able to overcome difficulties and reach the finish line. Don't be discouraged by temporary setbacks. Believe in your abilities and potential, and believe that the future will be better. At the same time, you must learn to adjust your mentality, learn from failures, and look for opportunities from difficulties. You must know that every setback is an opportunity for growth. Only after experiencing wind and rain can you see the rainbow. Dreams are the beacon of life and the driving force to move forward. Every young person should have his or her own dream, whether it is to become a scientist, artist, entrepreneur, or choose an ordinary and fulfilling life, all are worthy of respect and encouragement. Don't be swayed by outside voices and firmly believe in your inner desires. Just like Jack Ma, when he had the dream of creating an e-commerce platform, he moved forward resolutely despite the doubts and ridicule of everyone. Now Alibaba has become a global business legend. Your dreams may not be that grand, but as long as they are sincere and persistent, you will definitely be able to shine with your own light. Chapter 217 Bullet Advertisement. Don't think I don't know. You sold the news of my appearance on Nine Snakes Island to Swain, Blackbeard said with a grim look on his face. The ant's face changed and she said angrily, "Why do you know that? You be *******D?" Then she thought about whether there was a traitor here, but Blackbeard interrupted her thoughts with another move, dark water. Auntie's movements were slow and she had no time to react in such a hurry. Ta 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 ta. She was knocked out 100 meters away, and her huge body rolled like a meatball. Ouch. It really hurts. The ant was so painful that she kept squirming on the ground. Gia ha 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 ha. Are the 4 emperors of New World so weak now? Blackbeard seemed very satisfied with the damage he could cause. However, the shadow of Swain came to mind again. This man who made him feel as frightened as Whitebeard seemed to feel the strange eyes from his companions and changed his words. Only you, a remnant of the old era, would be like this. Weak. The red-haired man was actually half a remnant of the old era, but he was still very young at that time. It was only after Roger's death that the new era came. After a while, the ant stood up again and said fiercely, "Teach, I'm going to kill you." Blackbeard is the strongest person in the era of sin, and he chose to challenge Big Mom to become the 4 emperors. He is no longer the 5th emperor on the sea. He has had enough of this empty title. The most obvious thing is that when he burned, killed, looted and ransacked the village, the common people were naturally frightened when they heard the name 5 emperors. But when he met a pirate with the strength of Shichibukai and a new pirate with over 100 million pirates, he was full of disdain for Blackbeard, the 5 emperors. Because they believe that Blackbeard is just a clown in front of the 4 emperors. So he wants to prove his strength. Hey, kill Charlotte Linlin quickly, be careful when Marine attacks you. Bullet appeared on the roof of the building wearing sunglasses and said, "I know how to do it, I don't need you to teach me," Blackbeard responded. "HMPH, don't forget that we are just a cooperative relationship," Bullet reminded. And he was holding a dying man in his hand. It was Luo who was going to negotiate on Danto Island. "Son of a B***ch, Bullet, you escaped from there. What grudge do I have against you?" The ant cursed. She didn't understand that Bullet actually helped Blackbeard to seize her position as the 4 emperors. Bullet heard this and sneered. "Grudge? Maybe not, but I feel that you are no longer worthy of this position." To talk about how Bullet and Blackbeard formed an alliance, we have to push forward a few days. Blackbeard's group divided into 3 groups to escape Swain's pursuit. After running away for a day and a night, they met on an unnamed island. The island is strangely shrouded in fog like a shroud. From a distance, it looks like a strange existence emerging from the dark abyss, exuding a creepy and soul-trembling aura. As they gradually approached it, the first thing that broke into their sight was the ghostly black cliffs. They stood jaggedly, as if they were ferocious ramparts rising from the deepest part of hell, carrying endless evil and coldness. The trees on the island are twisting wantonly, and their branches are like the withered arms stretched out by a soul that has been tortured. They make a weird rustling sound under the blowing of the sea breeze. The sound is like a devil whispering in the ear, which is hair-raising, numb. Dense vegetation grows like the hair of a madman, intertwining with each other to create dark corners that are so dense that they cannot be broken away. There are some horrifying secrets hidden deep inside. Badgers was a little timid. He had seen countless scenes of hell-like killings, and this was the first time he had seen the horror of this island. This island should be called Nest Ghost Island. Fan Oka raised his left glasses and said. Before he became a pirate, he was a local shepherd. He read a lot of books and naturally knew some unknown places. Especially these legendary islands. Nest Ghost Island. As the name suggests, it is the lair of ghosts, and it is rumored that the island itself is actually a skeleton. Some say it's a human being, others say it's a monster. People who come here will get lost in it. Every night at 12 o'clock, the island will ring with a burst of bells and roars. There are many adventurous people on the sea. They don't believe that this thing is real, and they often go out in groups to explore. As a result, no one could survive, and a great pirate who once had a bounty of 2 billion died here. Blackbeard swallowed his saliva and said, "Is it really so evil?" He knew that Fan Oka usually didn't joke, and no one would be stupid enough to joke at this time. Yes, at least. Fan Oka glanced at the time on his watch. Advertisement: it's 12 o'clock in 7 minutes. Everyone, be prepared to fight, and be aware of whether there are any extra people around you. There were only 5 people present who were all original members of Blackbeard. Poison Q was riding a white horse, slumped on his back with a listless expression, always staring at the surrounding situation. He didn't know if his venom was useful to ghosts, so he was very nervous. Dong 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 dong. There was a clanging sound from the depths. "Isn't this the sound of a bell?" Badgers said with great caution. Swish, 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 several white things shot toward Blackbeard. Fan Oka noticed it first, raised his sniper rifle and opened fire. Whoosh whoosh. The bullet shattered the white thing into pieces instantly. Fan Oka teleported there, then picked up the white fragment and looked at it. It's Wa. A few people felt relieved immediately. As long as it was a physical thing, they were afraid that it was really a ghost, and they would not be able to find a solution by then. After hearing Fan Oka's report, Blackbeard's face immediately turned gloomy like a dark cloud in June. I was shocked by something like this just now, and I felt a little embarrassed. Dark acupoint path. A black mist appeared under his feet, gradually spreading deeper. Tisk. After only advancing a few dozen meters, he was stopped by a powerful domineering force. Then a voice came from a dark place. You guys are so rude. It seems that he has a lot of thoughts about death. Bang bang bang. Fan Oka pulled the trigger and shot. He wanted to test whether there was a human or a ghost inside. Then he threw a stone on the ground, and as the bullet shot past, his figure appeared at the source of the sound. Who are you? Fan Oka said with narrowed eyes. Huh. Why is there a fly? Bullet said with a bad look on his face. He punched in the air, and Fan Oka immediately used his ability to move back. The punch missed directly, and a vacuum was created where the fist landed. Something is going wrong, Captain, Fan Oka said solemnly. His eyes showed solemnity and he said, I saw an incredible big shot. Blackbeard understands Fan Oka's character. He cannot be the big shot he mentioned out of thin air. He must be a strong man. He couldn't help but said nervously, who is it? It can't be Swain, right? Bullet, a former member of the Roger Pirates, was a man whose strength rivaled that of Rayleigh at the age of 16. Dividing line, 3 outlooks, namely world outlook, outlook on life and values, are like the compass of life, guiding us to move forward in a complex and ever-changing world. Having the correct outlook and values is of vital significance to personal growth, social harmony and human progress. Worldview is people's overall view and fundamental view of the entire world. A correct worldview should include scientific understanding of nature, society and human beings themselves. We should realize that the world exists subjectively and operates according to certain laws. We must explore the world with a scientific attitude, understand the mysteries of nature, respect the laws of nature, and protect our Earth home. At the same time, we must also correctly view the development and changes of society and realize that society is a complex system with various contradictions and problems, but it also has unlimited potential for development. We should actively participate in social construction and contribute to the progress of society. As for human beings, we must realize that everyone is unique and has his own value and dignity. We should respect others, care for others, and jointly build a harmonious and inclusive social environment. Outlook on life is people's fundamental views and attitudes towards the purpose, meaning and value of life. A correct outlook on life should be positive and optimistic. We should understand that the meaning of life is not to pursue material enjoyment and success, but to realize self-worth and contribute to society. The road of life cannot be smooth sailing. We will encounter various difficulties and setbacks, but it is these experiences that make us grow and mature. We must face difficulties with perseverance and meet challenges with an optimistic attitude. At the same time, we must also cherish life, cherish time, and strive to live a fulfilling and meaningful life. We must establish a correct view of life and death and realize that death is inevitable, but we can make life bloom the most brilliantly in a limited time through our own efforts. Values are people's fundamental views on what value is, how to evaluate value, and how to create value. A correct value system should have truth, goodness and beauty as its core. Truth means pursuing truth, insisting on seeking truth from facts, not cheating, and not following the crowd. Kindness means having a kind heart, caring for others, being willing to help others, and not doing things that harm others. Beauty means pursuing beauty, appreciating art, paying attention to the quality of life, and making your life full of poetry and romance. In the specific content of values, we should pay attention to the cultivation of moral concepts and abide by social morality, professional ethics and family ethics. Education is an important way to establish correct outlook and values. Families, schools and society should all assume the responsibility of education. Schools should strengthen ideological and political education, integrate correct free views and values into all aspects of education and teaching, and cultivate students' comprehensive quality and social responsibility. Society should create a good atmosphere of public opinion, promote positive energy, publicize correct outlooks and values, and guide people to establish correct concepts. In short, establishing correct free outlooks and values is an important task in life, which is related to personal happiness, social harmony and human progress. We should continue to learn and practice, strive to establish a correct world outlook, outlook on life and values, face life with a positive attitude, and contribute to the realization of the Chinese dream of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Let us work together to pursue truth, goodness and beauty and create a better world. In the process of establishing correct free outlooks and values, we must also pay attention to cultivating our own critical thinking skills. In the face of various information and concepts, we cannot blindly accept them, but must conduct in-depth thinking and analysis to judge their rationality and correctness. Only in this way can we keep a clear mind in the ocean of complicated information and not be misled by wrong ideas. At the same time, we must actively participate in social practice activities. By participating in social practice, we can have a deeper understanding of social reality and enhance our sense of social responsibility and mission. In practice, we will encounter a variety of people and things, which will help us better understand other people's positions and perspectives and cultivate our own empathy and tolerance. In addition, we must also pay attention to cultivating our own aesthetic ability. Aesthetic ability includes not only the appreciation and evaluation of works of art, but also the discovery and feeling of beautiful things in life. A person with high aesthetic ability can often find beauty in ordinary life, thus making his life more colorful. The cultivation of aesthetic ability can make us love life more, pursue high-quality life, and then establish correct values. In the context of globalization, we must also establish the concept of openness and inclusiveness. There are differences between different countries, different ethnic groups and different cultures, but these differences are not the source of opposition and conflict. We should respect and appreciate the unique values of different cultures, and promote mutual understanding and common development between different cultures through exchanges and cooperation. Finally, we must always maintain a sense of self-reflection and self-correction. As time goes by and the environment changes, our concepts may also deviate. Therefore, we must regularly reflect on and summarize our own behaviors and concepts, correct problems in a timely manner, and ensure that we always move in the right direction. Establishing correct three outlooks and values is a long-term and arduous process that requires continuous efforts. Let us start from now on, starting from the small things around us, constantly improving our overall quality, laying a solid foundation for our lives, and contributing our wisdom and strength to the development of society. In this era full of challenges and opportunities, let us be guided by the correct outlook and values, bravely pursue our dreams, and create our own brilliant life. Chapter 218 Cooperation Advertisement. Bullet, a former member of the Roger Pirates, was a man whose strength rivaled that of Rayleigh at the age of 16. Blackbeard immediately frowned and said, "Bullet? Why is this guy here?" "I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's him." "There's no way the beast's aura is wrong," Fanoka said. "Have you seen him?" Badgers asked. He had never even heard of Bullet, but perhaps Roger and Rayleigh would still know. "Yes, we passed him when we were driving to Impel Down Prison," Vanoka recalled. His expression actually became a little nervous. "I don't know if it was because of the fact that he looked at him just now." "We should retreat," Blackbeard said. "No chance. The island has begun to become foggy. In a short period of time, we are just like a few headless flies," Fanoka analyzed. "Secondly, someone has to stop this monster." Blackbeard, Badgers, Lafitte, and Poison Q turned their eyes to Fanoka again. "This," he said helplessly. "The last time Swain came to chase them, he sacrificed himself to stall for time, although Swain did not catch up in the end. But you can't always stand up for yourself, right?" He was quite critical of Blackbeard's character of running away whenever he encountered danger. However, before they could make a decision, Bullet had already arrived in front of them. Yo, look who these mice are, they're quite big." The veins on Bullet's neck bulged as he spoke. Under the darkness, the eyes reveal the hunter's red gaze, which looks very oppressive. Whoosh! His speed is like a ghost, making it difficult to see his figure. "Disperse," Blackbeard ordered. "Hey, it's too late," Bullet laughed. Blackbeard quickly surrounded the dark mist of the dark fruit around his body, ready to absorb Bullet as soon as he made a move. "You misunderstood, my target is this kid," he joked. He turned around in an incredible way, raised his fist and hit Fanoka. "What?" the latter exclaimed, cursing in his heart. "Would it be *********D? He had no time to activate his ability and ran away, so he had to put the gun in front of his chest. Boom! A spray of air appeared in place. Fanoka's throat felt sweet, and blood spurted out of his mouth, and his body flew out like a kite with broken strings. Horrible! Bullet is a madman who lives and breathes fighting. Bullet used to be a soldier. He went to the battlefield at a young age. He was extremely powerful and was hailed as a hero by everyone, taking a certain incident as an opportunity to resign from the army. Later, he met Roger and boarded his ship. He was active in that era as a precious combat force. At that time, he was equivalent to the Deputy Captain Rayleigh. But Bullet did not feel proud, but instead stepped up his training. But after Roger got sick, he was hit and went astray until he was arrested. Nowadays, its super strength is even infinitely close to that of One Piece. In the army where Bullet was a child, all the young soldiers were called Bullet, and all the young soldiers were numbered, and he was number 9. The name of the unit commander was Douglas, so he was called the 9th Bullet of Douglas's unit. This is the origin of the name Douglas Bullet. And he also has a name, known as the Descendant of the Devil, a hero known as the Successor of the Ghost, and was once a crew member of the Roger Pirates. He is so powerful that even his fellow Roger Pirates call him a monster. After Roger was executed, Bullet turned the sea upside down and was eventually taken into custody at Impel Down City Level 6. Escaped from prison in the commotion caused by Blackbeard. After escaping from prison, he was called the worst prison escapee in history. "Wait!" Blackbeard shouted. Bullet's glance is like a Shinigami's gaze. "What's the matter, little tender chicken?" Advertisement. He spat on the ground, his contempt hard to hide. "In other words, he has the qualifications. I think the title Black Shrimp is more suitable for you." Badgers came up behind him at some point. Then Badgers used his hands so hard that his clothes were bursting with muscles, and he hugged him tightly. Even Bullet didn't notice when he came behind him and said, "It's really interesting. The three-eyed man got you behind me before I knocked him away." The three-eyed man is Fanoka, because he wears an extra glasses on his left eye to assist in sniper shooting. Gia. I realize now that it's too late. The Black Queen's apple. Poison Q, riding a white horse, feebly threw an apple downwards. The green apple exploded directly in front of Bullet, and the green poisonous mist that came out made him choke and cough. Dark water. There was a black vortex on Blackbeard's palm. A powerful devouring power makes people feel shaken in their hearts. Bullet stomped on Badger's foot so hard that he had to let go of him. The Blackbeard pirates don't have a conqueror's owner, and Shiryu has one. Bullet's strength can rival Roger's, which is enough to prove his strength. He can probably fight Whitebeard without losing. The spirit of the Chinese nation is the soul and backbone of the Chinese nation. The Chinese national spirit contains rich connotations such as patriotism, unity, peace-loving, diligence, courage, and self-improvement. Patriotism is the core of the Chinese national spirit. From ancient times to the present, countless Chinese people have sacrificed their lives and blood for the independence of the country, the liberation of the nation, and the prosperity of the country, and have written magnificent chapters of patriotism. Unity and unity are the fine traditions of the Chinese nation. The Chinese nation has experienced countless hardships and challenges in history, but it has always been able to unite as one to jointly resist foreign enemies and maintain the country's unity and stability. Loving peace is the consistent pursuit of the Chinese nation. Since ancient times, the Chinese nation has advocated peace is precious, and advocated the peaceful resolution of disputes and contradictions, making important contributions to world peace and development. Diligence and bravery are the outstanding qualities of the Chinese nation. With their hardworking hands and brave spirit, the ancestors of the Chinese nation created a splendid civilization on this land. Constant self-improvement is the enterprising spirit of the Chinese nation. When facing difficulties and setbacks, the Chinese nation can always maintain firm belief and tenacious perseverance, continue to forge ahead and pursue penultimate. He was about to say find one pice, but then he remembered that the other person was a former crew member of the Roger Pirates. The Chinese nation, a nation with a long history, splendid civilization and great spirit, is like a bright star, shining with a unique and dazzling light in the forest of nations in the world. From the ancient land of China to today's modern and powerful country, the Chinese nation has experienced countless ups and downs, but has always maintained its tenacity, wisdom and vitality, and created one amazing miracle after another. Bullet teleported to him, and then kicked him so hard that his mouth was dislocated. He didn't know that Blackbeard's dark fruit could steal other people's fruits through special abilities, because the probability of encountering a devil fruit in this sea was also very small. Maybe we can talk, Deathless Bullet, Blackbeard said. Skip to the next chapter without reading the following. He sat on a branch aside. Anyway, he had been lost on this island for several days, and he finally had some fun, so naturally he wouldn't kill it all. The culture of the Chinese nation is a treasure in the world's cultural treasure house. Chinese characters, as a unique creation of the Chinese nation, are one of the oldest writing systems in the world, carrying thousands of years of wisdom and history of the Chinese nation. Poetry, calligraphy, painting, opera, music and other art forms all demonstrate the unique aesthetic taste and creativity of the Chinese nation. Philosophical schools such as Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism have provided the Chinese nation with rich spiritual nourishment and moral principles, and have influenced generations of Chinese people. In addition, the traditional festivals, folk arts, handicrafts, etc. of the Chinese nation also contain rich cultural connotations and have become an important part of the Chinese culture. But he was still killed by Swain. The scientific and technological achievements of the Chinese nation are equally impressive. As early as ancient times, the Chinese nation created 4 major inventions: papermaking, printing, gunpowder, and the compass. These inventions not only changed China, but also had a profound impact on the development of world civilization. In addition, the Chinese nation has also made many penultimate achievements in the fields of agriculture, astronomy, calendar, medicine, mathematics and other fields, such as Essentials for Qimin, Mengshi Bai Tan, Compendium of Materia Medica, and other works, which are the source of the scientific and technological wisdom of the Chinese nation. Crystallization. In modern times, the Chinese nation has achieved rapid development in the field of science and technology. Technologies such as high-speed rail, 5G communications, e-commerce, and artificial intelligence have reached the world's leading level and have made important contributions to the development of world science and technology. Along with his beloved sword, he sank into the sea. The history of the Chinese nation can be traced back to ancient times thousands of years ago. Over the long years, the ancestors of the Chinese nation have thrived in this vast land and created a splendid culture and great civilization. From the ancient Yangshuo culture and Longshan culture to the Shang and Zhou bronzeware culture, from the hundreds of pre-Qin scholars to the glory of the Han and Tang dynasties, from the cultural inheritance of the Song, Yuan, Ming and Qing dynasties to the national awakening in modern times, the history of the Chinese nation is like a magnificent picture. Showing endless charm and profound heritage, however, none of you can use conquerors. He still didn't value Blackbeard too much. Then, a powerful stream of conquerors spurted out, completely shocking the people who were about to resist for a moment. Really? It's an honor to let you know my domineering power for a long time? The great spirit of the Chinese nation has different manifestations in different historical periods. In ancient times, there were examples of patriotism such as Yu Fei's loyalty to serve the country, and Wen Tianxiang's. No one has died since ancient times, and his loyalty will be remembered by history. In modern times, there are Lin Zexu's human smoking, Sun Yat-sen's revolution of 1911 and other examples of resistance to foreign aggression, and the great struggle for national independence. In modern times, there are Lei Feng's, serving the people wholeheartedly, and Zhao Yulu's, loving the people, working hard, being scientific and realistic, facing difficulties, and selfless dedication, and other spiritual models of dedication to the people. These great spiritual qualities and heroic figures have inspired generations of Chinese people to work hard for the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. We can join forces to find. No, rule the world, Blackbeard said. That's why he said, Lucky, Chinese nation, you are our eternal pride and pride. Let us love you forever and sing for you forever. The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation is the greatest dream of the Chinese nation in modern times. Under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, the Chinese nation has made a great leap from standing up, getting rich, and becoming strong. After the founding of New China, the Chinese people, under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, worked hard and overcame numerous difficulties to establish an independent industrial system and national economic system. Since the reform and opening up, China has ushered in rapid economic and social development, and its comprehensive national strength has continued to improve. Today, China has become the world's second largest economy and has made world-renowned achievements in the fields of technological innovation, infrastructure construction, culture and education. At the same time, China is playing an increasingly important role on the international stage, actively participating in global governance, promoting the construction of a community with a shared future for mankind, and making important contributions to world peace and development. Oh, Bullet became interested. Why do you cooperate with me? I don't accept people who are holding back. The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation cannot be separated from the efforts and dedication of every Chinese son and daughter. In the journey to realize the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, countless Chinese sons and daughters have made silent contributions in their respective positions and interpreted the great spirit of the Chinese nation with their practical actions. Among them are scientists, engineers, teachers, doctors, soldiers, workers, farmers and other outstanding representatives from all walks of life. They use their wisdom and sweat to contribute to the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. At the same time, the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation also requires each of us to start from ourselves. Start from the small things around us, study hard, improve our own quality, and contribute to the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Dooku whispered. No wonder my poison doesn't work, it turns out to be domineering. Dividing line, then a whip kick. His body was trembling, and he didn't know whether it was because of his sick body or because he was frightened. The Chinese nation is a great nation, a nation with a glorious history and a splendid civilization, a nation full of wisdom and courage. On the journey to realize the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, we must strengthen our beliefs, move forward courageously, inherit and carry forward the great spirit of the Chinese nation, and work hard to build a more prosperous, powerful, democratic, civilized, harmonious and beautiful China. Let us work together to write a magnificent chapter of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Too weak. Blackbeard had no intention of fighting at all, but he had seen Roger's strength. You are really lucky, all of you are capable people. Badgers screamed and flew backwards. Chapter 219 The Uncrowned King. Advertisement. No, no, no. If it doesn't hold us back, then let's try to cooperate. Bullet thought for a moment and said, I know you, the guy who escaped from prison, Blackbeard teach. That's easy to handle. Blackbeard said, Captain, we can't cooperate with him. Fan Oka approached Blackbeard and said with a somewhat uncertain expression. Blackbeard signaled him to stop talking. Bullet is very powerful, and Blackbeard believes that when Shiryu's life or death is uncertain, they'd better recruit more strong people. Otherwise, facing those 4 monsters in the sea, he would have no chance at all even if he wanted to become 4 emperors. At least that's the case based on his combat prowess. Ha ha ha, you, a weakling, dared to propose cooperation with me. It's really laughable. Bullet mocked without mercy. Really? Blackbeard asked. His eyes gradually became serious, not as flattering as before. Bullet said indifferently. Yes, stab in the back. Hoo ho ho. Blackbeard slapped his palm to the sky, and black mist suddenly appeared above his head, and then went down layer by layer. They were gradually surrounded, and the lost haze was also blocked by this black mist. Huh? Bullet wondered. It was actually difficult for his observation color to detect the movement outside the black mist. It seemed that the observation color could have a blocking effect. It gets interesting. Whoosh whoosh. Several human arrows were shot from the dark place, catching people off guard. However, they were all broken up by Bullet. Is that all you have, Blackbeard? The strength of the 5th Emperor of the Sea is quite different from that of the other 4 emperors. Bullet continued to torture Blackbeard. Although the latter was angry when he heard the other party's ridicule, he did not deny his weakness. That's why I invite you to cooperate with us. Boom. Bullet punched Blackbeard on the bridge of his nose, causing Blackbeard's body to fly backwards. Then he disappeared again with a chirp, and when he reappeared, Fanoka's neck was already stuck in his hand. Lend me your gun. Then purple viscous fluid emerged from his hands and adhered to the wall. It's easy to turn into a spear. As his voice fell, the barrel of the gun turned into a sharp spear with a slight movement of his mind. What? Fanoka looked in disbelief. Are you surprised? Bullet smiled wildly. Then he put the spear between his wrists and said, the weak should not come to this boundless sea. Poof! He penetrated straight into it, and then there was a crash. The muscles and bones of the palm were broken. Fanoka groaned and sweat broke out on his head in pain. Bullet felt like he was squeezing an ant, and then casually threw him aside. Fanoka! Blackbeard exclaimed. Bajis and Dooku, you two hurry up and treat his injuries. Dark acupoint path. Blackbeard's expression revealed nervousness, and he swore that this was the first time he had feared death since he went to sea. Bullet, this man is as powerful as Roger. Even when facing Whitebeard, he wasn't so nervous, because he knew that the latter couldn't bear to kill him. Small bullet. Advertisement bullet integrated the fused weapon in his hand and shot it directly at Blackbeard. The dark cave is like an ant attached it. After feeling Bullet's attack, it changes from attack to defense and flexibly turns into a wall. Clang. The sound of metal clashing sounded. The black mist produced by Blackbeard's dark fruit is theoretically similar to the Sea Tower stone. Bullet's fusion fruit combines weapons and domineering power to greatly increase the lethality. Blackbeard only felt that the opponent's strength was like 1,000 pounds, and it was impossible to resist the impact. Fortunately, his physical fitness is many times stronger than that of ordinary people, so he was able to avoid defeat in this battle. Seeing that Blackbeard was not dead and blocked his blow, he nodded and said, "Not bad." His eyes finally looked at Blackbeard seriously. "We can sit down and talk," Bullet said. Blackbeard was a little disbelieving, and his eyes suddenly widened. "It feels a little out of character. Of course, this is what I have always expected," Blackbeard laughed. It was like a cage, it was really more torture than killing him. During the battle just now, he noticed that a little bit of Blackbeard's fruit ability could dispel the fog. "I just think you should quit this position, Lin," Bullet said. This is what Blackbeard is thinking. He must use the power of Blackbeard to escape. Swain originally wanted to subdue Bullet, but after hearing that he was released from prison, he started to challenge strong men from all walks of life like a madman. "Oh," Bullet snorted coldly, "you're still young? You thought it was 40 years ago?" Bullet agreed, having been trapped in his own place for nearly 3 months. "Powerful, powerful, powerful. Don't you think this cooperation is very promising? Cake Island. Then rule the world." The conquerors in him burst out like it was free of charge. "Being humiliated today is to achieve success in the future. We'll update another chapter tonight, so be patient." This kind of straightforward questioning method can only be done by a strong person of his level. But there is a malice like lion majesty hidden deep in his eyes. So now that he is strong, only 5th level Luffy can fight him, and he can be regarded as a strong man in the T0 echelon. "I am now the uncrowned king." Seeing his arrogant look, Blackbeard knew in his heart that he couldn't bear this monster at all, so he could only bury his murderous intention in his heart. In view of his arrogance, Swain naturally knew that he would not cooperate as peacefully as the Red Earl, so he gave up the idea and destroyed the lifeguard together with him to avoid misunderstanding when the latter found out. A large hole opened up on the spot, and the body that originally lay at Bullet's feet only had a pair of feet left on the edge of the hole. "Why'd I have to quit, you brats like me?" said the ant as she hit Bullet with her iron fist. He also had a fight with the red-haired 4 emperors, and the final outcome is unknown. Otherwise, these people would have been killed long ago. Due to the appearance of Swain, which disrupted the original plot, Bullet was not hastily taken over by Wong Luffy, who was still in the 4th gear. Boom. Haha. That's not a small tone. Blackbeard's eyes flashed and he said, "Take you out of this hellish place." "What benefits can you bring me?" Bullet asked. "This also means that they can leave here." Chapter 220. Handfight advertisement, Prometheus, Auntie shouted. "Here it is, Mom." Suddenly a golden cloud flew over. "If you dare to hurt Mom, I will burn you to death." Stolen fire. Prometheus attacks on its own, rushing towards Bullet and forming a huge pillar of fire that passes through it. Haha, it's really suitable to be a hand warmer. Bullet is full of domineering energy and his armament is so powerful that he cannot cause any harm at all. "Who do you think is the hand warmer?" Prometheus said angrily. The color of its clouds also changed from golden to red. T. Bullet. Bullet made a T shape with his finger. Then there was a powerful black wave rushing past. "Heavenly fire," Prometheus said angrily with his head on his head. It spits out a mouthful of fire, which grows into a small volcano and is suppressed by the wind. Boom. It was as loud as summer thunder. Bullet is indeed a pirate who is considered by the world to be as powerful as Roger. His T was only blocked for a moment, and he broke through the fire without any hindrance. "Not bad, you little pet." Bullet praised, but the ant didn't want to argue with him, so she pulled one of his sons over and asked, "Where's Katakuri?" "Mom, have you forgotten? He was seriously injured when he attacked the Swain pirates." She grabbed her son's neck and threatened, "Hurry, let him come to me for reinforcements." The son's eardrums were shaken by her harsh voice, and blood flowed from his eyes and nose. Okay, he replied tremblingly. "Bullet-headed brat, you must be prepared to be killed by me," Auntie said angrily. Bullet refers to Bullet, who joined Roger as a teenager. At that time, Charlotte Linlin was still in the Rocks Pirates, and they often had conflicts, so they naturally gave Bullet, who was still young at the time, a nickname. After Bullet heard this title, his face immediately stiffened. "Old fat woman, you know I hate this title the most. You be *************, D. I'm going to tear your mouth to pieces," the ant cursed. No matter which woman she is, she hates the words, old, and fat, to describe herself the most. Bullet directly combined the two words to describe the ant, which made the latter not angry. She has been the overlord of the sea for so many years, but no one has dared to talk to her like this. Bullet is the first, she wants him to be the last one. Soul Hooklock. The ant picked up the mace on the ground. The stick was covered with Conqueror's domineering spirit and gray light. "Fat woman, you have no power to fight back in front of me. Go to hell," she roared. Bullet suddenly felt like a magnet, attracting all the weapons around him. Merge. Purple-black liquid emerged from his hands, wrapping these weapons. The liquid did not have the thousands of degrees of magma temperature, but it was able to fuse them into a fist-shaped glove. Conquerors immediately wrapped around it, increasing its power to the maximum. Advertisement, don't let me down, let me see if your strength has improved over the years. Sizzle. The two of them met to form a huge electric field. The ground could not bear the intensity and cracked. Only the place where the two of them stood was intact. Soon, Bullet felt something was wrong, and his brain seemed to explode. He was shocked and said, "What is going on? Why can the fruit's ability affect him even though he's using Haki for defense?" Ha 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 ha, brat, you feel it? My move is not afraid of domineering. In other words, as long as your domineering is not ridiculously strong and reaches the level of crushing, you will not be able to resist it at all. Boom. Bullet felt like there were bugs squirming in his brain, and the veins in Tinling Guy seemed to burst. Let you laugh at me. Let you laugh at me. Anti struck out several attacks like crazy. Bullet was now unable to find a way to resist, and he couldn't escape for a while, so he had no choice but to tell Blackbeard. Hurry up and resist the blow for me. He needs to take the time to get out of Big Mom's attack range. To put it simply, Big Mom's Soul Hook Lock has a stun effect, and every attack she makes has this effect. If you can't escape, you will definitely be smashed into meat pies. If he had a head-on confrontation, he really wouldn't be afraid of Anti, and he might even be more powerful. But there is no way to control him like this, and the key is that his domineering level is not up to that level. Maybe Roger and the redhead could do it. Bullet secretly thought that he was a little careless. After all, he was a 4 Emperors level warrior. If he could be killed so easily, wouldn't he be invincible? Blackbeard saw the ant's crazy look and there was no reason in his eyes, so he didn't want to take action. I'm afraid that if I kill him casually, I'll lose more than I gain. He was extremely reluctant to help Bullet, this arrogant guy, but he had no choice but to get help from him. Vanoka! Cried Blackbeard. Teleport! Vanoka knew what he was going to do without Blackbeard's instructions. Blackbeard appeared behind Anti, and the condensed black hole on his palm touched Anti's body. Clang clang clang. There was no dizziness from the blow this time, and he got out of it immediately. Blackbeard is indeed miserable. Ah, he looked at the mace so close to him in horror. The thin line between life and death, Vanoka's role came into play again, and he shot Blackbeard in the right shoulder at the critical moment. Then, he shouted. Change, chirp, Blackbeard came to Vanoka's side. Survive. Blackbeard breathed heavily to relieve his current mood. He vowed never to take another chance. But Vanoka spurted out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground unconscious. He was originally injured by Bullet and was still injured, but he then used the limit of his ability to rescue Blackbeard. The body has exceeded its load and cannot support it anymore.